Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone, indeed. Yes, welcome to another episode of Biden Numbers. We finally did it, mate. I can't believe it, mate.
That's so unreasonable. How are we not just getting struck off Twitch or whatever instantly for that? How's that even allowed?
I don't even know, mate.
Worth a flyer, though.
Fuck the rules. Fuck the rules. Look, I can't believe Joe Biden's got his own podcast. He's got his own podcast now, mate. Like, legitimately, and he's having guests on. And he's such a good conversationalist.
Why is there no host there at least facilitating it, for God's sake? Why have they put two people like that together? Just like, well, go at it then. It's
like the worst part about it is
just two people reading off auto cues, not even communicating with each other.
He was on the news. He was on the news answering questions before, right? And that's where he come out. He said, "Oh, if America solves a problem, and you don't solve it in the rest of the world, you're gonna get all sorts of issues. You're gonna get, and he's thinking, you're gonna get travel bans, and you're gonna lack economic intercourse with the rest of the world." I'm like, this isn't fucking happening. Like, but it's happening, mate.
Probably not the euphemism I'd use.
And definitely not if I was in the height
I know.
of some sort of sexual assault allegation. No, I wouldn't either. But anyway, we're not going to talk about Joe Biden. It's not that podcast, Duncan. Although we do need, I think, right? I don't know if you remember this because I think I told you about this. I did have an idea for me and you doing a political podcast, and it was just going to be called The Patriarchy.
There we go.
Do you remember that one? We talked about it. Maybe.
I mean, I can't lie. Biden numbers pretty good. If he becomes president,
we can't have Joe Biden as the standard bearer for our work. For fuck's sake, his box is gone. Can't do it. But anyway, whatever. Fuck it. Let's. This is for now is a show about Counter-Strike.
Sadly, though, Counter-Strike at this point in time, mate, like literally to me, it's closer to politics than it is to a fucking sport. Like, look at I assume we're going to get some of these topics in this show.
Oh, of course,
the sheer amount of unbelievable fucking like professionally unethical or like conflict of interest level things, or people straight up lying and saying they can or can't do things over the last 7 calendar days is fucking mental, mate. And yet, in almost every case we're going to discuss, the general sentiment from the public was like, who cares? Stop going on about it. So what we've learned is it's just politics again. They have their team. They have the person they like. Anything that person does will be excused, if not defended. And anything we do, no matter how minor, if they don't like us, is the worst thing ever. This is just pathetic.
And now you understand why it was the plan all along to fucking reduce politics to sports ball, red team, blue team. You know, because if you start thinking about it in terms of establishment, non-establishment, and you start trying to look behind the curtain, well, you know, people can't cope with that, and some people aren't as passionate about that. It's just if you just tell them your team are the good guys, and then you secretly go to the other team and go, your team are the good guys, and the other team want you dead, and then you go back to them and you go, I was just sorting to the bad guys, and they want you dead, and then you just locked into this like eternal bickering, and it's pretty much the same. But basically, politics has been reduced to a fandom. That's what happened. And fandoms, as we know, are cancer. First of all, they're just cancer for any form of discourse or any form of human interaction whatsoever. But also, as well, they're just magnets for the fucking mentally ill, aren't they? For people who are just, you know, they don't have a life balance of any sort of any semblance. So what they do is they become over-invested in the thing that they're fans of. And esports, it's been like that for fucking ages, you know what I mean? There's more extreme examples. K-pop, obviously, should be in the fucking... Yeah, it should be in the fucking DSM-5. If you
anime.
K-pop. Yeah, another one.
There as well.
Yeah, 100%. Get the furries in.
Don't know if we're allowed to say that anymore, but I was thinking it.
Yeah, probably not. Who knows? Probably the next one, innit? Probably, but for now, we're safe. But for now, we can just timestamp it anyway. We are the lords of time.
Speaking of unreasonable fan bases that want us dead, Brazil.
Yeah, we will get there. First, though, this podcast isn't sponsored by Hillary Clinton. It's not sponsored by Joe Biden. It's sponsored by a great sponsor. .com. Love them. They're an esports betting platform. If you want to play some bets in a safe, ethical environment, be over 18, bet responsibly, but go there. You actually get your winnings. They create loads of great content as well. They're a great sponsor to have on the show. And right now, as you can probably see on the banner, you can't see it if you're on YouTube, but if you're watching on Twitch live, you can see you get a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. That basically means you stick $100 in, they'll match that. So go head over there, check it out. They're fucking super cool. And if you do go over there and sign up, if you don't have an account yet, go to .com/RLS for Richard Lewis Show. Sign up with that, and they know that you've come from this channel, and therefore that you're supporting us. Or you can go to .com with 9 E's, which they've registered, so we can talk about them on this show. That's also a redirect that tells them that you came from By the Numbers. So yes,
go do some economic intercourse there.
Yeah, exactly. Let's have some economic intercourse. Let's get the economy fucking kickstarted. Anyway, let's talk about these many crazy things that you want to get into. Before we do, actually, let's have a nice topic, Duncan. Right. Let's have something that I know is close to your heart, because obviously it's been that long since we did a show, because we've been traveling and working and quarantine, all that shit. Obviously, we had the Flashpoint Finals.
Oh, true. Yeah.
So I think we'll start there, because lots to talk about. I gotta say,
also allows us to simultaneously actually analyze the games, give our real thoughts, and then the cherry on top of the cake is wreck all the Brazilian fans again and make them all mad.
Yes, exactly, and then we get to segue into Corralho. So it's how I planned it in my mind. Yeah. So I gotta say, first of all, I know, like, under very difficult circumstances, you guys didn't get to do a lot of the stuff you wanted to do, didn't get to do a lot of the content you wanted to create, didn't get to have that live studio interaction that we had for the first few days, first week or so, when Flashpoint went live, because of the pandemic. But obviously the players were all still out there, everyone was looked after, all of the precautions were taken, so they weren't coming into the studio, they weren't playing in a LAN environment, everyone was essentially in lockdown in the apartment complex that Flashpoint had hired. So I gotta say, it was a shame, but also in a way, it might not be the worst thing in the world, because this season it's proof of concept. We get to test all the moving parts out.
It tempered expectations, I reckon.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like, because you couldn't do any of the stuff that you said you were going to do, you ultimately couldn't fail or be criticized or anything like that. And by the sounds of things, which we'll come to later on, it does sound like we're going to get a better caliber team in the next season. But first, let's just talk about the final. It was between MadLions and MIBR. Got to say, the final delivered as a pretty good game. It had loads of high points, loads of crazy moments, and of course, the cherry on the top was watching MIBR fucking choke.
That was mental.
On the last map, 12-3 up at half time, and yet they go on to lose. And I said that one of the worst things about Flashpoint was going to happen to be watch this lackluster MIBR team essentially cruise to $500,000 for not really doing a whole lot of much, and meanwhile not beating anyone outside of Flashpoint of note.
It would be like if the Cleveland Browns went to the Canadian Football League and won it, and we're like, see, what up now? And it's like, well, who gives a fuck? Calm down.
So it was just great. So I wanted to get your perspective, because obviously you were on the ground, you were live tweeting. At one point, I know you were resigned to MIBR winning it. And then, of course, as I've always pointed out to you, whenever you tweet something, the opposite immediately kicks in as the reality. So you're going, yep, MIBR are in a high gear now. That's when they start choking. Well, MadLions could come back into this. MIBR start running away with it again. It's like you are the puppet master, just not in the way you'd like to be. But I wanted to pick your brains about the game, about the first season, about how everything went down. So,
I mean, I echo the premise, basically, that in a weird way, the whole situation with the lockdown and having to go online, listen, it hurt us in as much as we couldn't do all those things that we literally had the resources and the people and the man hours to do. We just literally, logistically, physically could not do some of these things. And as a result, I mean, the joke I made with Monty in an interview was, it shows you how bad the fucking standard is at normal tournaments, that us doing a 10th of what we planned to do looks like we did a great job. But then there's the other angle that, as much as that hurt us, I agree. Bearing in mind, this was the season where we had the worst teams that we're going to have, in theory, and it was the one that had all sorts of stand-ins comments. It's not even like we had the original strength teams that we wanted. Like, for example, that dig team was a complete waste of time. They never even had the best players. So, you know, a lot of even what would have been the secondary storylines was somewhat undercut. So I feel as though the fact that everyone knows our hands were basically tied on that one, everyone's was. I mean, ESL couldn't even do a global tournament because obviously they were spread out around the world. I think actually it somewhat made the expectations more realistic. And like you say, it succeeded inarguably in as much as it was just a proof of concept, like the blind spot post-game show, the ability to swear and not have the entire world have to fucking crash to a halt, being able to make fun jokes and have a bit of breathing room. And if people didn't notice, we never, ever ran out of time on those pre-game segments. That half an hour pre-game show, because it was handled by people who are veterans and crucially people who have done enough of those events and had where you have 2 minutes to summarize everything. You could feel people got the rhythm of it. It could breathe a little bit. You could have, you had enough time. You could go into the jokes without feeling like it took away from the analysis. So I felt like a lot of elements kind of like, I wouldn't give them a 10 out of 10 grade, but I'd give some of them like an 8 out of 10, some of them 7.5 out of 10. All in all, it was above it. It was above the expectation overall, I think. But it's not like it was the best event ever, obviously, and obviously the teams somewhat
and it was good to see some new talent as well, kind of get some Maui Snake in particular, and
right, okay.
Yeah, but no, not just that, but I mean even the commentary duos that came up, Semler and Sean Gares was like a new partnership. Sure. We saw Potter do some commentary as well. That's like a first. There was like I kind of felt almost that with the situation with the shutdown. And with the fact that, listen, we're not going to get to do our A game stuff, so let's fuck around, let's experiment a little.
Exactly.
Let's get and that you could see that everyone was more relaxed as a result of that. There was like a really relaxed vibe to it, and especially segments like the blind spot where you guys are having a beer and stuff after the game and talking. It kind of it felt a lot like a very highly polished The Summit. In some areas. So, if that's a compliment to the people that were doing the show, sure. If it isn't, sorry, that's my assessment. But I definitely enjoyed watching the broadcast as much as I could when I wasn't streaming the games.
And then I'd say as far as the final goes, like it initially actually looked like it wasn't going to be that good because like with the way MIBR narrowly won the first map, which was the map that in theory MadLions had to win, it actually looked like, is this going to be like, because they didn't win the first map, now MadLions is just going to collapse on the second map. It's going to be a boring final. Because the sad thing is, when they played in the upper bracket final, that game was a fucking straight fire banger. Like that was 3 maps all the way through, great plays. Both teams pushed to their limit. But what's good is, after they got through the troubling first map and just narrowly won that second one, obviously the game developed eventually into a great game. It's just that MIBR was constantly in the driving seat. You never thought they were going to lose this series, literally, until the moment they did. There was never any indications, because at one point in time, remember, they're on CT side of train in the Decider, one of their best maps as well. They're up 12-1, I think. So
at one point it was, correct.
Yeah, in that scenario, as long as you even get 1 or 2 more rounds, it's so unlikely the team wins. MadLions wins out, then manages to get... This is the key thing to me. Yes, I'll give props to how MadLions came back, but they were gifted some of those rounds by MIBR.
Unquestionably.
You can't stick like 4 full fucking no-kit diffusers or whatever, and then or maybe like 2 of them with no-kit and 2 with kits. You can't just stick those without ever tapping it and think you're going to win all 4. That's outrageous. But... while on the one hand, props to the MadLions players for having the balls to do it, what an absolute meltdown from the MIBR players in that sense. Like, look, that was some straight, like, fumble the ball when it's right on the...
The worst one was when meyern was on upper and it came down to the 1v1 and his angle was just completely off in the with the smoke defuse, and he was just spraying away and didn't do anything, and then got killed as soon as the CT came off the defuse. So... I was watching that and I was like, oh my god, this is that was like, I want to say, wasn't it like something like it was like 13-13 or something. Yes. So I was like, fucking hell, like they've done it. Like MadLions have won against all the odds. It's one of the most insane comebacks I've seen, certainly this year.
Of course. Even throw in the round that basically began the comeback, which was where that Roy guy did a diffuse in it through a smoke, right? When he gets that diffuse, guys, 4 MIBR players are alive. 4. He's in a 1v4 and he just diffuses the bomb. Like, when you have that kind of a breakdown, this is why it shows that whole angle that everyone kept hitting so hard. You notice I don't say it very much, of like, they're major champions, the experience will carry them. It's like, in that moment, you saw that they aren't the team that won the majors. Like, they have a couple of pieces who can be pretty good. The other players, KNG and meyern particularly, they do brain dead shit all the time in the game. Like, they're nowhere near the caliber of some like great champions who control the game.
Oh, not at all. And it's expected that meyern wouldn't have the experience or the sort of cold, calculating demeanor you need to be a champion. He's just a fucking pup. He's
like
just been brought into the team. Yeah.
And then I'll also say as well, the reason why I do still give MadLions a lot of props for the third map, though, is with the way the game is right now with the economy, them winning that was crazier than it thinks. Like, if someone hears who's played CS a long time, right, so what happened is you just got a roll on CT side of train, CT sided map, and you won the map. Okay, that doesn't even sound that crazy. That sounds like a standard big comeback, right? Like CT side nuke back in the day. These are obvious comebacks. No, because if you go and look at the game, MIBR had the guys from MadLions economically fucked from the beginning of the game because MadLions won the pistol, then lost the second round, if I remember correctly. So as a result, when they were winning all these rounds, because it would come down to defuses, every round that they were buying again, they would have like 3 rifles and 2 SMGs or a FAMAS. And so every time they were actually economically disadvantaged for most of the game. So the idea that you have to win all those rounds in a row and basically fight the economy and the opponents, I think it was one of the craziest comebacks I've ever seen in Counter-Strike. That's not just recency bias. It was just until it happened, I still kept thinking, surely MIBR just trips over, wins all these rounds, and wins the fucking game. So the fact that they really did completely mentally collapse is amazing. And obviously, it's so sick as a storyline. Not only one for Flashpoint, because as you mentioned, MIBR winning actually is like kind of a mild bomber because we know they're not that good. Whereas MadLions is a team on the rise. And what's cool is the one thing MadLions hadn't really done is come through in the big game yet. That's been the big knock on them when they'd been at all those DreamHack Opens. So to actually win the biggest tournament you've ever played in and take that step up, and obviously it was an awesome element for the Acillion thing. I think he carried the third map 30 kills or something.
Yeah, Acillion went big.
Yeah, it kind of, in the end, it just brought together a lot of storylines that just made for a very satisfying ending.
Yeah, the thing I was going to bring up was to talk about Acillion. I mean, he must need to fucking pinch himself because we've talked about him quite a bit on the podcast. And, way back when I said he was going to be one of those guys that broke through as a talent out of Denmark back when he was playing on Reason Gaming. And I think he had a pretty good tournament. It was one of the Take TV tournaments, like a home story cup for CSGO. And Hunden said to me at that event, Acillion's really, really good. He's going to break out. And you couldn't really foresee what would happen to Acillion, the big drop off, chance after chance, never working out. Then he reinvents himself as an IGL. Then he's in-game leading really, dodgy lineups that are beneath him. And then he's been put back in the frame to replace Hunden by Hunden himself, which you might say, based on the history, bad call, brother, because it really hasn't worked out for him these past 3-4 years. And then he goes straight into this team. They power through this tournament, and suddenly, he's getting his cut of fucking $500,000. It's his single biggest ever tournament win. It's probably 10 times all of his tournament winnings in his entire career.
In terms of prize money.
Yeah, it's fucking insane. So his story is crazy, and if ever there was any doubt about what a great guy Hunden is, to basically to put one of his former failures, I guess, in a way, as a player, to put him back in the frame as his own replacement, step away from the team, and they go on to win the tournament, and Hunden cheering them on the whole way. What a fucking great guy. So I was really happy for the MadLions team, because the one thing it did as well was it did prove a little bit. Listen, I thought when Hunden left, the timing was terrible and it clearly couldn't have been amicable. But then when I sat down with Hunden and did an interview with him over on the Rivalry CS channel, he said, listen, it was nothing to do with the guys. It's it's all me. I was having problems in my personal life, and it was turning me into an asshole, and I didn't want to play, and I missed my kid, and I just needed to get the fuck out. So that, he says, no one blamed the players, and they let me pick my replacement. And we knew this team had real potential. We were doubtful that Acillion could get them to the promised land, but holy shit, like you said, this is the biggest series win of their careers to date. They did it via a comeback, and it's their first tournament win. So, it really couldn't have gone better for them.
Yeah, I mean, if people aren't aware, they only lost 2 best-of-3s out of, like, I'm going to guess they probably played like 11 or something mental. One was the one on LAN on day 1 to have, who obviously ended up being one of the biggest surprises of the whole tournament. And the other one was the upper bracket final, which was super close to MIBR. So if you look like, the good thing also about Flashpoint, because obviously I was involved with designing the format, is I don't like the old school days where, you know, if you like win a major, you could have just played 9 maps. Like, I think the teams that made the final here had played something like 23 maps each, or some outrageous number. So as a result, when you're then naming the MVP and you're naming the top 5, you're getting a really good sample size for that. You're not just having like one good half put you over the top and it was at the right opponent, you know, and then he didn't die a few times, so your KD differential was off the chart. No, you had to really perform over like 20 plus maps. And so the people that did, I also feel like the players in MadLions, some of them really showed themselves. Because listen, people knew who Acor and Bobski was. But I tell you what, nobody knew that the Shush was going to be as good as he was in this tournament. Like, that guy was a revelation. Again, one of the top rated players, performing seemingly almost every game.
Yeah, so super happy for them. We're going to segue into talking about MIBR for different reasons. This must be a very bitter pill to swallow for them in a lot of ways because, listen, we all know this team has got problems. We all know they're a shadow of themselves. We all know this lineup
is got
not
a timer on it. Come on. We all know it's got a timer on this lineup. It can't last that much longer, surely.
Well... I mean, I don't know what's gonna. I don't know. First of all, yeah, that should be true, but like, I don't know what the fuck happens. Taco's got to go. I don't think Fallen's the same ruthless motherfucker he used to be. I don't think Taco gets cut from this lineup. I think he wants the good soldier. You know, like I know Taco has the occasional good map. I know Taco does all the miserable, despicable roles within the team. I know all of these things. He's still well below the par. Where he should be. And let's be real, they tried something out with meyern. The poor kid. My heart goes out to him because, like you say, he's 17. He's coming to a team surrounded by legends. And the fans, they're fucking merciless in Brazil. And they're merciless in Brazil. And he's an Argentinian.
The sad thing about that one is, even though really this isn't what they literally did, it almost does look like the most cynical scapegoat creation I've ever seen. Like, we're a Brazilian team who get a lot of hate when we lose, but mainly just on the worst player. Right? Let's take this young aimer. Don't give him any of his aim rolls, of course. Make him be 17 years old, so he'll never handle the pressure like we have. And also, he's Argentinian away from Brazil, so no problem there, right? Everyone's going to naturally hate him. Like, fucking hell, like, at this point in time, just put a sign saying, kick me on his back instead of a fucking jersey. It's outrageous.
Yeah, and like I say, you know, you could tell it's got to him a little bit just off that reaction, off the fucking ESL meme, where it was like his name is Brazilian for We Miss Cold Zero, and he reacted negatively to it, saying that he thinks it's unprofessional and the players like rallied around. He's clearly feeling the pressure. Who the fuck wouldn't? So I do feel sorry for him.
Good impression of being a Brazilian, though, man. That was pretty good.
Yeah. He's got the butt hurt winding down immediately, hasn't he? But the reality is this, though. You know, I gotta say, like, if you can't stand the heat, don't fucking step into the kitchen. I mean, that's just the nature of the competitive beast, and he is somebody that, you know, mentally. He's probably not going to be one of those players who comes right out and gets it. I think he's going to need to probably step away from this team and try and come to terms with the fact that he had a chance. He flopped, but he probably will get another one at some point in his young career. So, yeah, I don't know. I agree. I think this team should be on a timer. I think the whole MIBR project at this point has been an abomination.
Yeah, great. I would, if I was the Immortals Gaming Group, I would genuinely consider just like either retiring, or it's a popular term now, furloughing the whole fucking brand, and just make it like, you know, in the future, if you ever get the Furia players, then you make it. Otherwise, time to just become a normal team again.
Yeah, but let's also be real. Like their entire strategy, we're going to get to that in a sec with the YeaH stuff. You know, it's clear they have no fucking faith in the lineup, because we know they wanted the Furia players and couldn't get them. So we know any player that comes in after that is an afterthought. We know from the business relationship they have with YeaH. Listen, if any of those players are good, we get to buy them for a price of your choosing, right? Okay, good. Glad, agreed. They're trying to lock down the entire fucking Brazilian scene so they can mine it for talent, because they know that they need some young'uns to carry their old crusty asses right now. That's just the fucking truth. That's just the brutal truth. Their own actions reveal that to be the
there's
case.
another thing as well, by the way, about the final that I was glad happened, actually. As fucked up as that sounds, I love greatness. Anyone who's great, I like to see who they are, even if they're assholes a person. As long as they're a good player, I always want to see them play. But the problem is, right up until the second and third maps of the final, people were going to name Fallen MVP of this tournament, mate. I can tell you.
No doubt.
That green room, we're going to give him the MVP. I would have done it myself, probably, because he was actually being sick. But the problem with that is, you don't see that every match when he plays at the tier 1 line against fucking Na'Vi and Astralis and Mouse Sports. No, it happens like 1 in 4 games or something. So what you saw in those final maps as well was Fallen was pretty quiet. And at that point in the tournament, him and Fur are the carries. You have to carry. The whole thing you're relying on is like, we're going to roll back the years and we're going to use the fact that these guys haven't felt pressure and we're going to stomp them. So as soon as he couldn't do that, you saw how weak their team just became at that point in time. That's why they lost to these rookies.
And you know, the only consistent, I would say, that this team's had in any various iteration has been, you know, Fur's maintained some level of form. Fallen's come back, and he's absolutely stomping against this caliber of team right now, and having all these highlight reel moments, and you know, 1v4s, and even a 1v5
like
against. Yeah, it does. Totally, because what's it for? What does it mean? You know, who are you beating? And like I say,
some of the analysts even made the point, by the way, which if you think about it, I think it's pretty legit, is he actually had essentially the best chance to succeed, because the one thing this tournament didn't have, because we don't have any top 10 teams, we don't have the best AWPers in the world. The best AWPers he was playing against, no joke, was like Wardell, Acor.
Yeah.
That's his competition. So listen, some of those are good players, but it's certainly not beyond the realms of possibility Fallen can beat them, is it? The difference is, put Fallen against Kenny S now. Put him against Simple now. He'll get his body slapped.
Oh, he would, yeah. And I totally agree. And that's what I mean. I think it's been a bit of all the praise he's been getting about getting back into form. First of all, let's assume the premise is true and he can perform like that against top-tier teams. Well, if he's performing like that and they're still losing games, still losing series, still throwing maps, what's it for? You've just got a nice frag move at the end of the day, but you're out the fucking tournament. So who gives a fuck? So MIBR, weird fucking situation they're in right now. And let's be real. This must be... We remember how we talked about FaZe being one of the most expensive flops relative to the money spent for what they should have won, what they should have done?
Oh, of course, yeah.
MIBR must have gone way past that now.
Oh, as far as I know, even when they initially signed those players, this is one of the things, by the way, I won't speak on the organization's behalf, but I can't imagine they're happy with what's happened. Because remember, it's sure, in CS, we tend to just look at the players, not the team name. So we'll allow you, if you're Envy, to claim that like you won 2 majors. Of course you didn't, you won 1, the other one was in LDLC, but whatever, it's the same team. So if you're MIBR, you can all day long go to that well of like, but the majors, but SK in 2017. But let's be real, while they've been MIBR, they maybe had one period at the end of 2018 where they sort of like did like a little run to, let's say, 5th in the world. That's it. Aside from that, they have no joke been like a legit like perma 9th or 11th best team for like 2 years now. And the reason that is so whack is, again, if people only knew dollar for dollar what these guys are getting paid now, what they were signed for, and what their contracts were like. They basically had like some of the best contracts in esports. I know, because when Noah Winston was in Immortals, dude, he was over the moon that he had these guys. Because when he signed, obviously, WESG, he was like, I've got the best team in the world. So of course he gave them god-tier contracts. So that's one of the areas where people are also unfair. I don't want to hear like, yeah, but MIBR is doing good enough. If you fucking knew how much money these guys were paid, you wouldn't say that. That is a ridiculous...
All the arguments that were aimed at Virtus Pro, saying that they were washed up and they were making too much money, and it wasn't, and the standard of play wasn't good enough, you can make that twofold for this team. There's just no doubt. And let's also be real. Like we're talking a similar period of time to the great Virtus Pro never-ending decline. It's unbelievable how long this seems to have gone on for. And they've tried everything. They've tried bringing back old players. They've tried discovering new players. They've tried non-Brazilian players in the lineup. None of it's working. And it's just, there's something just fundamentally rotten at the core. They've got like unbelievable sponsors, unbelievable infrastructure. But right now,
one of the biggest fan base in the entire world. By the way, there's one thing I will say, a massive thanks to MIBR for. I mean, they're obviously a founding partner of Flashpoint. It's not like they weren't going to be in it. But tell you what, they
Huge
carried us in
viewership.
terms of views, mate. Like, well, they would sometimes have more views than the main Twitch channel. They'd have like 40k on theirs. We'd have 30k on the other one. So straight fire. I have to say, that's the one area I can understand why they keep trying to do the Brazilian angle. That's an unbelievable group of people to be able to literally bring with you wherever you go.
Yeah, and obviously, like, you know, they've got a lot of fans, but right now, those fans must be beyond frustrated in the same way that, you know, Polish fans are, because who do you go and cheer for now? Like, if you're a Brazilian fan, maybe it could have been Furia. It ain't. They're ahead of MIBR right now, but I mean, we're not close to seeing a Brazilian champion again. A Brazilian.
You can't really talk shit about Furia as in like, oh, Furia will beat you now. You know, it's like, that's the problem, isn't it? You can't really live vicariously through them. And let's be real, that is why they have that fan base. Because when they were number one, every fan used to act like they were the fucking sixth man in the team or something, didn't they? Well, the problem is now you think you're going to win a fucking tier 2 tournament, and you've got me saying fucking Corralho in your face just as everything falls apart.
That tweet was brilliant, by the way. I appreciated it. I appreciated the replies. I don't know if it's not. I know it's not safe, actually, Sam, to scroll through because there was a lot of homophobic abuse aimed Thorin's way. It's a bizarre recurring theme that in a country where the number 24 is gay. I mean, who would have fucking thought that they might have a problem with certain issues? But anyway,
see, over there, it's not 23 and me. It's 23 and 1. That's all about finding out who you are and potentially denying your past and future. I still can't believe that's a real thing. That made listen. We've overplayed that whole simulation meme. But when I found out that thing that like they just don't use the number 24, I genuinely was just like, right, beam me back out. I'm finished now. This is getting boring.
When I first brought that up, right, I had loads of Brazilians like DMing me abusively saying how it was a lie, right, or leaving a comment on the YouTube channel. Yeah, right. So I'm just like, well, here's an article from from ESPN Brazil or something, like some Brazilian source saying soccer players won't wear the number and coaches are giving it out as a fucking punishment to certain players if they're a cunt.
That part's mad. That he's like, go on then, put on the gauges. Yeah. What? What are you talking about?
No, we're gonna next season. You will be wearing the number 24. Like, mental, like absolutely mental. So anyway, I did enjoy the Corralho, but let's get ready for some real Corralho because a great flashpoint in the season. Sorry, a great end to the season for Flashpoint, I should say. But the key thing here that I really want to talk about is conflict of interest once again rearing its head between MIBR and a team called YeaH. Now, we know right now the next major is going to be in Rio, and hopefully it's going to go ahead in November when it's scheduled for. I'm really hoping that is the case. Depending on how the pandemic pans out, it might get pushed back until next year, but fingers crossed. But anyway, we've all been looking forward to the major in Brazil because I think it's going to be, you know, provided there's Brazilian teams there, I think the crowd's going to be good. I think it's going to be hype. It's going to be nice to just have a major. It feels like obviously there hasn't been one in forever because we were meant to be doing it in May. So everyone's really hyped and pumped up for it. But because of the situation globally, we're now doing this thing called the Road to Rio, ESL, who are running the major. And because there's such a gap between the previous major and this one coming up, Valve want to do all these like regional qualifier things, and we got all these groups. So right now there's 6 regions all playing these games, all accruing points. There's going to be these RMRs coming up so people can earn more points for rankings at the major, because even the invitees now have to prove they deserve to be there. That's a way of getting around roster changes and stuff like that. So we've had all of these games. Now there's been so much time, nothing but time, in fact, to get this right. And Valve came out and made a statement during the last in the aftermath of the last major, when they heard that ESL were going around and throwing contracts at people. They made a statement that basically said players and orgs couldn't have conflicts of interest. They couldn't do it, and they had to get them. They had to, quote, work towards resolving them. That's what they had to do. So I took that to mean if you're a player, sell your shares, in your old teams, which, by the way, it sucks. It sucks for somebody like Get Right or somebody like Forest who carried the fuck out of that terrible NIP brand and got treated like shit for it, that on top of that, the little bit of equity they got, which is worthless, essentially, without them being part of the team, they also have to sell quickly. That isn't fair. Players getting equity in lieu of other forms of payment should be like a good thing in the space. But it sucks, and because Valve won't say, well, you can own 2%, you can own 5%, you can own 10%, and we don't even that, because they will not just clear it up once and for fucking all, what you can and can't do. Those players are getting shafted. But what I do have an issue with is ownership of teams that you play against, like we saw with iBuyPower, where Dazed, he thought the throw would be safe because he was the owner of Netcode Guides, and if Netcode Guides won that game, they would be in the playoffs, so Dazed would essentially be able to double dip off the back of that. That was the rationale behind it. But then MIBR are going to play YeaH in this Road to Rio in the North American qualifier. It's its own questions, 2 Brazilian teams in the North American qualifier, whatever. And it transpires that Taco, who plays for MIBR, owns like 25%. He's a co-owner. And the coach from MIBR, Dead, owns 25%. So 2 separate entities on MIBR own 50% of the team. Not only that, and this one was a bit more controversial, and it's probably the least of the conflict of interests, but Dead is married to one of the managers of YeaH that runs the team and makes the decision. Supposedly, Dead and Taco have no input in the team. Dead's partner does. Then on top of that, MIBR, or rather Immortals Gaming Club, the parent company of MIBR, have a financial agreement where they pay a fee to YeaH every year. So it is agreed upon that if YeaH produces any talent that can carry the team that MIBR want them, they can buy them for an agreed upon fee. So there are 3 separate conflicts of interest. Oh, actually 4, sorry. 4 separate conflicts of interest as to why this game shouldn't be happening. And yet, not only do we have all of this written down in documents that prove it, this has been known about in public for ages, months and months, if not over, maybe over a year. They've done interviews, and Valve's statement upon this now, walking back what they'd said previously, said that the only requirement to qualify for the major was that participating teams disclose existing conflicts of interest and that those disclosures are public so the community can have an opportunity to discuss them.
Which also doesn't stop any match fixing or any of the fucking things that the conflict of interest imply.
So, can anyone explain to me, first of all, why Valve have walked that back? Right? Why this wasn't dealt with sooner? And what the fuck the community having a conversation does for anything? Because let me tell you, the community, like every esports community, is full of morons. And they don't care about conflict of interest by and large. They just want the games to go ahead and they want to cheer for their fucking cheer for their teams and cheer for the players that they like. That's it. That's as far as they go into it. That's just the reality. So this is a disgrace. Now, I thought ESL would pull this game. Nope. It's not only gone ahead, both teams have now played other teams. So the longer it goes on, there's no chance of punitive action now because you would have to go back and invalidate all the results and there's just no time. So what we're all saying is now, teams that have ownership, people that own teams can have their teams that they play for, play against those teams. And there are so many ways you can manipulate an outcome and people would benefit from it. And there's so many benefits from a manipulated outcome, specifically with this example, that it is so repellent to me that this game's... It's ruined... I said it sounds hyperbolic. It's ruined the whole major for me. Because there's so much money invested in that, and there are so many people who are interested in MIBR getting to the major, because as I already alluded to earlier in the show, no MIBR at a major in Brazil is an unthinkable disaster for everyone involved.
By the way, I'll give you a quick hypothetical, because I saw a lot of people were so stupid they couldn't think past the most obvious conflict of interest, which is when they play each other in this match you're describing. So there were loads of idiot fans where their logic was, yeah, but they're not just going to throw the game. They're not just going to lose the game. Even if we acknowledge that, what you are not understanding is when you are both in the same group, you can have a situation where there is no downside to throwing a game. Let's imagine, right, that YeaH Gaming had made the playoffs, whatever format we're using here, and that MIBR is on the borderline. They're tied with another team, and if they make it or not depends on who wins this next game. But YeaH Gaming somehow losing to a different opponent means that actually both of them go through out of a three-way tie or something. Like in that scenario, the YeaH Gaming guys don't lose their major spot. They don't lose anything like that. No one will know they did it on purpose. They're a shit and no-name team. But they would have essentially benefited themselves and then indirectly themselves and then directly the MIBR org. So you don't even want that to even be in everyone's mind, because then if YeaH has a really good upset win over MIBR, it's suspect. If they do a loss like this, suspect. It's suspect all the way through. There's no way to get past it.
Not at all. And that was another point I was going to say. Because they're in the same group, you can have situations where they can... Yeah, well, I mean, let's, again, the obvious example just is that let's say there's a situation where a team that is has the potential to leapfrog above another team that's like hot on MIBR's heels, or you know, like one that if they beat MIBR, they might play a little bit harder because they can qualify by beating MIBR, but they've got to win this game first. Well, if YeaH fucking can lose to a team that fucks them up, well, all right, you've just made it easier on MIBR just by the simple act of losing one game. So I'm not even saying any of these people would engage in anything dishonest. I know a lot of them, but the fact is that they've been put in a position where that narrative can be crafted by all the pieces that are in play. This is what conflict of interest is, and I thought we were meant to be getting rid of it. Valve don't give a fuck. ESL don't give a fuck. MIBR don't give a fuck. The average esports fan doesn't give a fuck. Why don't we just make it like wrestling, guys? Why don't we just have a rotational basis? Everyone gets a turn to be the #1 team. We'll all make more money.
You know what? Here,
Why not do that?
I'll actually make a statement that will show how fucking outrageous this is. You know, one of the first people I genuinely actually felt pity for when I heard this news of the Valve one where they walked it back, I actually thought to myself, they fucked Nickel and I over there. This guy might have wasted
millions. I said the same thing on my stream, buddy. I put a video out.
He was setting up potentially a whole bunch of franchises, which, by the way, would have been way better than YeaH. Remember, like God Center and fucking Heroic were doing things in tournaments. They could have all been at majors, by the way. He could have had like 3 or 4 fucking teams at one major and then done all the shenanigans we're talking about. So, listen, I think he's a scumbag as a person. He's done plenty of fucked up things in that sense. But in this regard, he actually followed the letter of the law. He got rid of the fucking teams as he was told to, only to find out that Valve was apparently just playing God with his fucking finances and his entire business plan. That's outrageous. We can't build a sport if you can just turn around and tell me, oh, by the way, just shed all that shit you put millions in. Then 1 week later, actually, you could have kept it. So what is that?
Yeah,
That's
no, I said the exact same thing. I said the exact same thing. I said it sounds like sympathy for the devil. But the reality is, Nickel and IHome's been treated grotesquely unfairly there, as is anyone else that's tried to make the big, great cash grab to have multiple teams. Your ES Forces, your, Jens Hilger's having to walk away from being on the ESL board because he's a co-owner in G2 and having to divulge all of that stuff about Fnatic. The reality is, if Valve were going to turn around and give a very weak, mealy-mouthed message before the major and just say like, yeah, well, as long as the community's aware of it and gets to have a conversation, we're fine with it, then why those guys didn't have to extricate themselves from anything? They could have literally had their cake and ate it. So unbelievable. And it's so weak. It's so weak. And we've had so long to get this resolved. And we still can get it resolved. Like, but it's just not going to happen, is it? And what we need, what has that now? What we need, guidelines. Right, it's no good Valve saying we want your conflict of interest to be publicly disclosed. Because how far are you willing to push that? How far are you willing to push that? How are you honestly willing to say that, let's say there's 5 players on one team or all co-owners on another team, and we're going to let them play those games? Are we going to go that far? Are we going to have the same parent company own multiple teams and all play in the same group to qualify for the World Championships? Are we going to allow that? The example I used on my video was, imagine a situation where if Liverpool had to play Liverpool reserves to win the title. What that leads to is, first of all, there's no way Liverpool reserves are going to beat their team and deny them a fucking championship. And then on top of that, because you know that there is no way on God's green earth that's going to happen, well, now all the betting's fucked. Doesn't matter how high you set the odds. Set it to 101, 1,001. Doesn't matter. It's not going to happen. It's an absolute slam dunk. So now all the betting's fucked up, and then the bookies are going to lose, and then it's a fucking nightmare to allow this stuff. So why don't we just have some guidelines? Why not just say you can own 5%? They do it in football. They say you can own a certain percent of a rival team if it's not in your league, or less if it is. You can own shares in them as if it's a business. Why don't we just draw up some guidelines? I'll tell you why. Because it's more work for Valve, and they just don't give a fuck. They are literally that meme. Haha. Money printer go brrr, that's all they give a fuck about. They don't give a fuck about laying down. It's worse over in Dota. Think about all the shit they've had to deal with down the fucking years. And then whenever Valve do get involved, like when they did, yeah, we're going to ban the player that uttered a racially charged epithet against the Chinese. But we're not going to ban the guy who said all Russians should die. We're not going to ban the guy that used the N-word. We're just going to penalize specifically this one team because the event's in China and we want to keep doing business in China. Brilliant. There is no fucking quality standards. There is no consistency. It's basically Valve will stay as uninvolved as they can get away with until it starts to hurt their bottom line, or they think that maybe the community might get so pissed off that they're going to walk away in droves and stop spending money. And the one thing we know about the Counter-Strike community is, if we were going to do that, we would have fucking done it by now, because we've been fucking shafted over and over and over again by the company that made our game. We've been given the short end and the shitty stick repeatedly, and we don't go anywhere. We're loyal to a fucking fault. Loyal to a fault. And Valve know it. So they're never going to get involved with anything like this. And it's just grotesque. The entire tournament is a mockery for me now. And that's before we even get into the other stuff like fucking, Coldzera owns a piece of, yeah. We've got, like I say, we've got a situation where Get Right, owns a piece of MIP still. But I think Forrest did divest himself. Where are the player disclosures in all of this, by the way? These were all team disclosures. Do individual players need to disclose? Well, if so, and that hasn't happened, well, Coldzera's broke the rules. Because it was that disclosed on his behalf, not him. So where are the player disclosures? Are they getting released? Are we not allowed to see those? The whole thing's a fucking mess, mate. I can't even believe it. And I get the sense, based on what Chad said, what Sponge said recently, I honestly think that this is a Valve-driven thing. I think ESL might have took some action.
Yeah, but here's my problem with that.
I saw your critique, and I do understand it.
When you are someone running a tournament, it will always be your responsibility the way that tournament is run. There is no going, well, but it's Valve's major. No, sorry. You have your tournament. You have the ability to push back. At a very minimum, you could at least make a statement saying you don't agree with fucking conflict of interest, but you're going to do it because Valve does. You didn't even do that because you're cowards. I'm sick and tired of ESL being absolute pussies. And then whenever they can, they've done it multiple times now, trying their hardest to make it seem like, it's Valve, isn't it? It's Valve. And just do that over and over again. No, it's your tournament. In the end of history, it will be remembered as the ESL Rio fucking road to major or whatever. It won't be remembered as like Valve stuff. No, it's yours. So even though it might not be your fault, do you see the key distinction here? It is your responsibility. Absolutely.
It
is your responsibility.
Agreed.
And I'll also say, here's the joke version, by the way. The way we could have gotten the community to be in uproar about this and really force Valve's hand is Flashpoint just had to run this match. Would have been the end of the world, mate. Every fucking journalist would be out all over it. Every key figure would come out.
Yeah, well, I mean, the community would have been.
Funny how that works, isn't it? By the way, I'm so sick and tired of Brazilians, specifically this one group in MIBR, complaining about I always make the joke, but it's not even that far off. If they think a room should be 25 degrees and it's 24.5, they'll complain like you put them in Siberia. But then every time they can essentially push a rule and sometimes literally cheat. I've made the example before. I saw them with my own eyes cheat and violate rules. They do it so routinely. It's fucking outrageous that you would be the person complaining and then you're the one breaking the rules all the time. That is fucking insane. You can't do that. Or if you do, just get ready to be called out because it will happen all the time. I'll never stop with those guys. It's like, if you're going to cheat that many times, I'll be there. At least I'll be your reckoning, if nothing else. If I can't get Valve to do it, can't get the tournaments, I'll be there to make sure people know you were scumbags.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, I think the problem here is, like, I totally agree that if ESL are in a position right now as like the sort of chosen prospective partner of Valve to do all this road to Rio build up, and then the major itself, it has to be agreed upon then that ESL have a greater degree of input than usual, because this right? So now's the time to make a stance. I mean, we know they can do it. Look at the coaching situation. We know how Valve feels about that, but they went out, they asked people, the CSPPA got involved, another fucking paper tiger. And yeah. And
did you like my tweet about them, by the way? I thought that was one of the best ones. Because my point was, it was basically a thought exercise. Think about this, guys, right? If anyone's ever heard the famous fucking quote by Lenin, where he said, if there is going to be an opposition, we must control it. Imagine, right, that some super cynical businessman scumbag or massive TO, so Nicola Nyholm, ESL, imagine these people knew that if there was ever a real players union that could leverage the players' labour, they'd be in deep shit. These guys could run the things, because you know what? You can't bring in the replacements from tier 3 and have it be at the same tournament. I mean, Flashpoint had the prize money of a major, but it'll never be considered an ESL clone with how that particular first tournament went. So if you know that they have that leverage, fucking hell, that's dangerous. You know what would be genius is if somehow you could be involved with influencing or setting up a fake player union to occupy the space of a player union, but to be completely toothless and never ever attack you. In fact, openly praise you for the most minor things, and then this is probably the maddest detail of what the CSPPA does. The CSPPA gets mad when you call them out for not doing anything. Yet that's the whole point of them existing, is to give the players a voice. It's not so that the players who previously were vocal will now be silent because they're in the CSPPA. That's also an area, by the way. There's another thing so two things to resolve that point. Essentially, I'm not saying that. I obviously don't think the CSPPA was really secretly run by Nicola Nyholm and ESL. My joke is there's no fucking difference. Like, if I was ESL, I'd go over the moon with what a joke this is. Then I'll add in one more detail that a lot of people missed. It's even more insane that conflict of interest match happened when you consider Taco is on the fucking board of the CSPPA. Where is the CSPPA comment on this? Because the next day, Richard, like yesterday, they commented on that whole thing about the coaching thing. They said how pleased they were. Zero comment, literal radio silence about this massive conflict of interest. Essentially, the potential to cheat your way to the World Championship. This is which,
by the way, I would say the vast majority of players that aren't engaged in any form of conflict of interest should be pretty pissed off about. They should be absolutely. But honestly, I've never been so disheartened by what I've seen the CSPPA sort of devolve into. And it's no coincidence, actually, that as Scoots became less and less of a voice, now the only thing they say these days are like pathetic corporate fucking statements. Like, ESL are great. We, from the bottom of our heart, like they're running a fucking meme account. You're meant to be a players fucking union, essentially. What are you doing for your players? You do nothing for the tier 2 players, let alone the tier 3 and the tier 4. You don't even let them vote on their representatives. It's one big fucking weird Danish-controlled fucking thing anyway. The players that are on the board, I mean, you know, like you say, some of them are engaged in conflict of interest that it negatively impacts on 95% of the players. Where's your statement about conflict of interest? Like, why aren't they saying what I'm saying, which is Valve should bring out guidelines saying at the very, like, what's an acceptable percentage for a player to own? and still play against that team? Is it 10? It can't be 25, surely. I mean, that feels unbelievably high, right? But like, you can have something. I'm not saying don't get a piece of the pie. CSPPA will never talk about that. They're never going to talk about that. And Taco ain't going to talk about it neither. And that's the other thing. Think about the team that's doing it again. Think like, oh, Jesus save me. Sweet baby Jesus.
By the way, can I just get an update from Peter from HLTV.org? I remember vividly, it's stuck in my brain, you described E-League, an organization which explicitly made its deals with organizations, not players. You said that them not allowing the Luminosity players to switch organizations before the playoffs of E-League Season 1 and go to SK Gaming, their new organization, who had a totally different team in the same fucking tournament that didn't make the playoffs. You said that was the worst decision, I think he said ever. I think he implied it was the worst TO decision ever. How about allowing an obvious fucking match-fixing magnet to happen? How about that, mate? Any update from you? Can I hear? Is this thing on? Nah, silence.
I mean, I'll say as well, like, you know, I was there internally at the time that happened when we were taking all that heat, and my stance was very clear that I'm a proponent of believing that there has to be some common sense applied to when players own a slot. Yeah, when players own a slot. And when orgs own a slot. But because it was corporate America and they're in a sports network, their understanding of sports is you have an organization, you have a team, you have a franchise, you have a front office. Right? Yeah, exactly. You know, but it's funny. Overwatch League runs exactly like that. The Call of Duty League runs like that. You know, and nobody thinks anything of it. And these aren't even real teams in the Overwatch League. They're just brands managed by, you know, venture capital groups, essentially, you know, or esports organizations that are funded by venture capital groups. So no one has an issue with any of that. But at the time for E-League, it was a big deal. And of course, it was Corralho and the Brazilians came out and said how bad it was and all of that stuff. But it's like, listen, how many times has this team bent the fucking rules or just out and out broken them? Why is it always the same fucking players? Why is it always the man that said only pussies try to win no matter what, that is always doing everything he can to get all these pathetic, grubbing, graspy, greasy victories? Why?
To be fair, he was right.
yeah. I can't even See,
disagree. You thought that was like a you know, hyperbolic statement. Maybe it was just an admission. Maybe the mask slipped away for a second. And he goes,
wearing hats, taking your headset off, talking while fucking dead. There isn't a single rule in the rule book these cunts haven't tried to bend or break at some point. And you know what? Gamesmanship, I'll let you have all of that.
They'll probably try and fucking enter WESG with meyern next and just say, "What? This is meyern, or here's a fucking Brazilian." Like, it's the same guy, you know.
Yeah, but like the reality is this: this one is a bridge too far. This is one that cannot be tolerated because what it says for the sport as a whole, what we are saying by allowing this game and this result to stand and this type of situation, we are saying that you can go out and buy a team with your winnings, and if you happen to come up against them in a tournament, don't worry about it. It's all fucking gravy. And no sport can operate like that. No sport can operate like that. There has to be a fucking line. So yeah, I just honestly, and people were saying, Brazilian fans mostly were saying, you should get right out and you should kick not Cold, he's one of ours. You should kick, and they were listing like all the other like low level like conflict of interest that were there. But we're talking like 2%. I think it's 307 shares Get Right has, right, out of like 15,000 generated. But I agree with you. These things shouldn't be happening, but don't compare 50% ownership and a financial contract and a marital contract in place to 307 shares in a company, because that ain't the fucking same at all. It ain't the same at all. I agree with the principle. In an ideal world, it wouldn't happen. But in other sports, you can own small amounts of equity without having to divest yourself of it. You know, Cajun B probably still got some fucking old Astralis money or something lying around, or, you know, there's going to be situations like that. This one is too egregious. This one is too ridiculous. But it's, like I say, not only has the game gone ahead, ESL put a tweet out, right? This is the madness of it. Like,
it gets so mad, this whole story.
Yeah.
It's like I kept waiting to wake up for it to end. It just never did.
No, well, and now it just disappears into the ether. There was never going to be an ending, Duncan. That implies that this is a fucking coherent story that's being told. No. So ESL put this tweet out. I'll give it to you, Sam. Don't worry, I got it for you here, buddy, so you can bring it up. They put this tweet out after the result. We are currently seeking clarification on and evaluating the conflicts of interest reported by the participants of ESL 1 Road to Rio. Decisions on further action will depend on the nature of the additional information that is disclosed. Where to even begin with this tweet? Where to even begin? We are currently seeking clarification. From who? From who? From Valve? From Valve? They've already made their statement. They're saying as long as the community has a conversation, it's fine.
Also,
are you asking?
By the way, put this context in as well. This is yet another example that I am also sick and tired of, which is, it's not like we all sat back, right? And then MIBR themselves said to Valve, by the way, can you just tell us like what the exact rules are? Or ESL went to Valve and said, what are the exact rules? This happened because of the outrage. If there had been no outrage, which there never even would have been a Valve statement, no one would have given a fuck. So yet again, literally, whether or not you like how ESL and Valve handled it, they weren't even going to do this. This is literally their provoked response. That's even more ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely.
It should be standard fair to have a comment on this and to put something out there, of course.
So seeking clarification on means we're having a talk to Valve, right? Well, Valve don't give a fuck ESL, so that's a cop-out. It should be you who gives a fuck. Then we're evaluating the conflict. What's to evaluate here? What is to evaluate? You have signed documents that you have made public that explicitly say this is the case. What is to evaluate? You either think it's okay that people who are this is essentially MIBR Academy to all intents and purposes, right? So, so that was another point I made in my video. Think of all the Academy teams that got shut down off the back of that Valve announcement. Think about North Academy. They had fucking A-Core, for fuck's sake. Think about the players that slipped through the fingers of organizations that needed those players, but were basically like, well, we can't have an academy no more. Can't have an academy team. There's no point. So Valve's statement had a seismic impact on the Counter-Strike scene. And they didn't mean it was, lol, trolling, guys, lol. You think we give a fuck about conflict of interest, lol. Nice one, mate. Fucking brilliant. If it ain't TI, we don't give a shit, bitches. Like, it's fucking, I can't believe it's real. Like, I can't believe it's real. They really did that. They really did that. Unbelievable. Throw a glass of fucking Gabe Newell's piss in my face while you're at it, mate. This is unreasonable as fuck. Then, decisions on further...
there fucking licking ice cream and putting it back.
It's beyond a joke. Like,
that's the sort of level they're on. They're like, it's going out like that. It's the major.
Right. Decisions on further action will depend on the nature of additional information that is disclosed.
What information is coming down the pipeline?
Yeah, I know. Like, what more can happen? Like, how much more can YeaH and MIBR be embroiled?
Certainly, we did find the blood traces on the murdered body, the victim, and studies show that they were in fact genetically identified as being the main murder suspect, and the weapon was found on his person. We will be investigating this matter and waiting for further information. What more do you need?
Well, as you can see here, the gloves didn't fit Taco, so we've got to let him go. Like, it's mad. The whole situation is mad. It's one of the most outrageous things I've seen in all my years in esports. I mean, seriously, no exaggeration. This just being accepted is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. Certainly in Counter-Strike.
Oh, it's definitely, mate. It's a sad day when fucking Gabe Newell's essentially like, competitive integrity is an ass, and we will no longer be working with it. Like, it's your tournament, for fuck's sake. Like, how can you care? I mean, I was going to say, how can you care that much about match fixing? They didn't care about that either. Again, you basically had to present them with the same crime scene example I gave there. And then it still wasn't certain they were going to do anything about it.
Yeah, and as I said many times over, it was only the overwhelming amount of evidence. Like it was ridiculous. It was like match fixing we could have got them all. We could have got them all. One guy at Valve could have just looked at a list of names that I would have provided for them, and they could have said, well, he's giving him skins, and he's giving him skins, and he's giving him skins, and Richard Lewis has the bet in place in a bet on that day, and he paid off that pro on that day. And they've got all the skins. That
should have been case closed. There you go.
Yeah. Well, no, but we could have got them all. We could have got them all. I don't know what kind of scene we would have had left. NA was a problem, but let's not pretend we were doing okay in Europe. There were some big names would have took.
There was a lot of circumstantial evidence. There was a lot,
mate. I got a fucking. I've got screenshots of players openly talking about it on Steam. For fuck's sake. Valve's chat program that they explicitly have access to, as proven by the GDPR rules. They could have wrapped it up in a fucking day. I would have gone to Seattle, come in, I'd have bought them all coffee. Here's some names, here's some dates, here's some times. If those skins transactions match up, they fix the game. Could have done it in a day. Not interested. I had to push that boulder up that fucking hill for 6 months to get one team throw in one meaningless game in CEVO. To get them to take it that serious, and they came in and they gave lifetime bans. And do you really think they handed out lifetime bans because they care about match fixing? No, it was the lesson. It was the lesson. If we fuck them over to an unfair degree, we'll never have to look at it again. Not only because fucking iBuyPower will be the Christ on a cross for the whole pro scene, but that journalist will fucking drive himself mad about it. It'll never work for 6 months to fuck over his friends again. So. Perfect. You did it. You cured match fixing by not curing it at all. Well done. So, anyway, it's like you said, they didn't really give a shit, and they still don't give a shit. I've got my own theories about why they're not going hard on the conflict of interest thing. And again, I probably got tin foil on my head instead of a lovely, luscious, thick head of hair.
Okay, how are we going here?
Well, mate, it's because of daughter. Think how many fucking... Think of the web of Chinese money. Think of all the sister teams.
That's one thing I will say is, like, I'll give credit at least minorly to Valve in that regard. I agree. I think one of the reasons they don't look into also the match fixing and all that sort of thing is also China now. That's a very good reason to not do it. So at least they're not as bad as Riot, who literally enforce one set of rules on the West and then totally different rules on China. So I'll at least give them credit for that. Like, they're vaguely different. But I agree. I could believe a cynical angle like that.
No, because so in the 2018-2019 DPC stuff, Valve put a statement out and fucking said, like, oh, listen, if you own multiple teams, you're only going to be able to send one to TI. I hope you realize that, and we want to do less conflict of interest stuff. I remember being told directly from the people that set up Alliance and EG, the day that was announced, and everybody knew what that alliance was, just European evil geniuses, and all the ownership was the same, right? Valve said to the management of EG, you're going to have to sort that out before TI comes rolling around. Hope you realise that. Nothing came of it, of course. And I think they just realised that, like, well, if we start going too hard on CS and we don't go too hard on Dota, that's going to be another fucking thing that gets brought up, another black mark against us. And let's be real, they are actually taking CSGO fucking way more seriously than they ever have. And they're going to continue to do it. Obviously, Source 2 is going to be coming out end of the year. Certainly, all evidence is now starting to point towards that based on the thing that what I've heard myself. You got fucking... Valorant coming out. We're probably going to get 128 tick servers, even though it's basically a placebo for shit players, but whatever. It's like they are going to start taking it seriously now. And I think as a result of that, they're like, yeah, better not poke that hornet's nest again, right? And fucking go hard on CSGO conflict of interest. Meanwhile, here's a Chinese company that has 3 teams under one org and funds the other fucking team, and they're playing against each other in these bullshit fake fucking leagues in China that are just literally designed for people to place bets on. And if you know which way the result's going to go, you put an accumulator down, you make a fortune. And if you fucking don't, yaboo, sucks to you. But that's esports, baby. So, what a fucking mess. What an absolute fucking mess. And listen, I sort of believe Chad. I honestly do think, for once, this is an instance of Valve putting ESL in the bad position rather than TOs famously putting Valve in the bad position.
Oh, I'm with you on
definitely
that.
Gone on.
I would agree if I had to guess. This is Valve forcing it. My problem is this. If there's one brilliant luxury that Valve does afford us in CS, and I've always said it, not even just jokingly, it's the fact that we can criticize them. Like, I'm not going to be blacklisted from majors for criticizing Valve now. So that's the point, ESL. You aren't in a scenario where you're facing some tyrant who you can't say anything to. You could do what they say, but at least make it clear you don't agree with it. Otherwise, in this scenario, by remaining silent and go, but it's Valve's choice, it sounds like you are on board with it. It sounds like you're just cool with it. At least just make a stance, you know. Still go ahead with it if you have to. That's on you. But at least make it clear that you do not fuck with this concept of literal conflict of interest.
So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. It looks like nothing. I've already started like tapping out because we are getting ridiculous situations. You know, we are getting situations where NIP and Dignitas are going head to head and fucking, you know, we are getting, you know, that, yeah, they're still in the tournament. EG, you know, the newly appointed coach, he's got 25% all up in this motherfucker too. So it's ridiculous. You know, it's not even like it's just two teams. It's that, yeah, or just like some mad, you know, like organization that everyone gets a fucking piece of it. Like it's Oprah Winfrey. It's just ridiculous. I don't mean everyone gets a piece of Oprah Winfrey. I mean, I'm not saying Oprah Winfrey.
Also, not really the time to be using, you know, Oprah Winfrey references. Maybe, you know.
Why? What happened?
Just conspiracy stuff. I won't go any further.
Oh, right.
I was wondering where you were going. Everyone gets a piece of it, like Oprah.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, right. I see what you're saying now. Yeah. You know, I saw that. I saw that one too. That 5G pylons were giving everyone COVID, and that was a distraction for the rings. The Lord
handing out all those gifts. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Epstein, he's on an island. Anyway, good times. I love the internet, me. I love the beautiful, demented people that use the internet. But anyway, yeah, like, long story short, because we probably banged on about this for too long, it's a fucking joke. It's not going to get fixed. No one cares. And we're just going to go to the major. And when we get to the end, I'm going to fucking love it if blatant bullshit happens. Because you could have fucking stopped it, and you should have stopped it. And, yeah, whatever. Right. Next topic. Wasn't there another one that you, because I know you alluded to it.
Let me think.
Before we got in, wasn't there another conflict of interest / scandalous thing going on?
Fuck's sake. Yes, there was. What was it though?
I can't remember. I know you alluded to it at the start.
Let me think.
Of the show.
Well, I've been tweeting too much. So I can't scroll past my Twitter timeline. Can you think of anything, Sam? Like, let's see.
Mate, Sam's fucking 10 bongs deep now. He can't think of his own fucking name, can he?
Like.
What was the other conflict?
Yeah, I know you're here. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll have a look now.
We can't talk about the double lift thing, and also as well.
No.
I'll say this just to you because I made this point on stream the other day because I had loads of people coming going, "Oh, what do you think about it?" Right. Monty and Thorin had talked about it, and my response to that was just that double lift's always been good to me, and he went through probably the most horrendous thing that can ever happen to anybody. So I'll let other people forge their opinions and publicly express their opinions. Like, I don't have to agree with something to just choose to opt out because of the person. Like, I don't want, if he's found happiness, I'm not going to be the guy to call it out. Like, I'm not going to do that. So that was my thought process on that.
What was the other thing then we'll go with?
I can't remember now.
Maybe there wasn't something in CSM. Maybe I'm just confusing it from that.
Yeah, maybe.
Source code leak is the other big story, but
yeah, I don't think that's that big a deal for this show. As it turned out, it was all a lot of fucking people panicking over nothing. But anyway, all right. Well, that's good. Look, I've got all the other stuff lined out, right. So we'll just move on to the next topic. As if this is the next on the list. It's a bit of a come down. I can't do that next. No, that's a fucking garbage story by contrast. What was the next one I was going to do? We did that. We covered that last time. We did the heroic thing.
I would just say, though, as a final note to that discussion to wrap the whole conflict of interest angle, I'm just, again, same as when people were just cool with a bunch of the shit ESLs done separately this year. It's not even what is actually done. Like, guess what, guys? I'm not fucking 7 years old. I'm aware the world is fucking inherently corrupt, if not actively, like, not what it appears. It's not a free market system where everything's fair and everyone gets to just succeed off merit, no matter how much you might want it to be. So I can accept that the world is a fucked place and do my tiny little part that can, in these cases, not even change it, just maybe influence it. But the one thing I will never accept is that everyone else, the same people who think about who is talking here. I don't fucking virtue signal. These people never stop virtue signaling. And then when things actually do matter, real tangible things matter and could lead to actual crimes taking place, people just don't even care. It's not an issue to them.
No.
It's actually the apathy that is worse than even the morons who defend it, in my opinion. It's the idea that you just go, what's that with ESL and that? But I kind of like ESL tournaments, so who gives a fuck? It's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, guys?
Well, not this, because you know that blew over pretty quickly. It was like it was a 1 day thing. And to be fair, when I put my video out and it went on Reddit, all the comments were like, "Yeah, this is fucking bad," but that was it, really. Like, it was just like, "Yeah, this is bad," but no one's gonna.
No, but I was shocked by the people who want to be in our group, right? You know, when people derogatorily from other games call us like the self-appointed guardians of esports or whatever.
Oh yeah, gatekeepers.
There's a lot of fuckers wanting our group. They want the clout of being in that group. They want to call things out, except the things that actually matter, of course. They just want to call out silly jokes people made or claim that I invented view botting in 2020. Anything that actually matters, like a real thing that could alter the history of Counter-Strike forever negatively. Nah, I sleep. This is whack as fuck. Get out. You don't get to be a gatekeeper if you just fucking fall asleep at the gate. Or when the guy comes up goes, I'm only here to keep barbarians out. What are you, Greek or something? Yeah, you can go in, mate. Like, what are you talking about? You're not even good at gatekeeping. I'm gatekeeping gatekeepers, you shit cunt.
I love
There's
the
a classic. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah. I love the classic Greek reference as well. Like, just in case anything was a bit too current for our audience. Right, so
antiquity references with me.
Yeah. So it is something. It sort of segues on, because we've talked about this on the show before. You remember Windigo, the Bulgarian team?
Sure.
So obviously they went to that big WESG event, which for those who don't know, it's like a Chinese tournament. But the gimmick is there that the teams that go, you have to have all 5 players of the same nationality. So it's like a World Cup, and you get these weird situations where like some teams kind of come together and swap a player out so they can go and sort of represent a country, and then you have obviously lineups that have 5 normally go in there, but it's kind of a weird one because it's in China. Some people duck out on it and don't go, but then the prize money's insane. It's got like a fucking $1 million up for grabs, and generally the field isn't very strong, so increasingly you do see the occasional team chance it, and go out there. Well, one of those teams was Windigo, and they won the whole tournament. Obviously that lineup's since been broken apart. I think that was the one with Poison in,
Yes.
and the one with Victor in, and it had ships in it. So, players that have all gone on to other lineups and stuff, with varying degrees of success, obviously. But they've never got the money. They never got the $500,000. And just to give you the timeline that they went, the manager said, "Oh yeah, we haven't got the money yet." The tournament organizer said, "Yeah, we've sent it to you." And then a few months later, the org just closed down and said, "We've got cash flow issues. If only we got that bloody money from WESG." So I said to Duncan, like, "Oh, he's fucking that owner's fucking straight robbed it. Like that owner's fucking he's fucking robbed them blind, hasn't he?"
He's pulled the CIS fucking minor team.
Oh mate, he's pulled the old fucking Putin special. Like, of course he has. But no, apparently not, right? They put out, there was a report by Mira again, who probably does the best work on HLTV. He did a report where he went through and basically looked at all of the evidence and stuff. And it does look like this organization have basically just been saying, "Oh yeah, we were going to send you the money, but we've had problems transferring it internationally to your bank." And then they said, well, now that the org's been shut down, we can't give it to you, the manager. So now you've got to send us all the individual bank details in for the... It's one of those where it's like they're blatantly doing everything they can. Like getting the money's like pulling teeth. And because obviously it's in China, well, you just got no fucking chance. How are you going to strong arm them? What are you going to do?
So WESG is the ones who haven't paid, basically.
Oh, yeah, 100% now.
So they're done as an org then, hopefully. I mean, I say that. We live in CSGO, so I'm sure every cunt fucking player will still attend the event as long as they get paid, right? Joke's on you for being from Bulgaria or something. That's the level of humanity.
Does this happen because he's from Bulgaria? Turns out, yeah, it actually does. The whole time, it does happen because you're from Bulgaria. The reason I wanted to talk about this on the show is because obviously WESG was a tournament that was like building a reputation. G2 have gone there. MIBR have gone there. You know, I think Fnatic have been there. This is a tournament that pays a lot of money out and has done a lot to try and famously, if you remember, had all those like terrible conditions for the first one, and you know people like Taz were like tweeting out, I think it was like, look at the fucking state of this, and you know there was a lot of stuff going on, and they kept trying to fix it and improve. Well, the first thing you have to do as a TO is make sure people get their money, especially when it's a big amount like $500,000 that we're talking about. And I've got the statement here. Where was it? Communicate. This is what the article says. Communication with WESG wasn't always easy or timely. Yep, sounds like a Chinese organization. Because what you're gonna do? Since the deadline expired, they have remained evasive about when asked about updates. Vian, an Alibaba employee who has been the primary point of contact for Windigo from the start, said in the latest email she remains on sick leave and has limited access until May the 15th. So it's not even getting looked at until May. This tournament was fucking, I don't even know how long ago now. And it says, we know that, but the
also, by the way, just as an aside, I'll also just say, if your main sponsor is called Alibaba, maybe don't turn out to be a fucking thief and steal all the money. Bit too on the nose. Bit too on the nose, that one. Just saying. I know they won't know the reference, but fucking it's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, good fucking reference, mate. So yeah, it says here, we know that banks in China are open again. This is obviously referencing the pandemic. And we understand that the company is functioning, even if some people are working remotely. It's a standard business practice to send a confirmation of payment. This way, even if there is some sort of delay, we can approach our bank and explain to them the situation, and we can try to resolve the issue. So now, basically, the old manager from Windigo is like saying, yeah, we'll probably have to look at a lawsuit. Good luck suing anybody in China ever for anything. Like, so the reason I wanted to bring this up is because I think we did pretty much like intimate on the podcast that was pretty fucking dodgy, and I think that owner's, you know, allegedly done a runner with it, but it looks like actually no, they have just been fucked over by WESG. So the broader point here is, Duncan, it comes back to our old friends, the CSPPA. Will you organise a boycott against this tournament now?
I mean, obviously not, because it's not Elige and fucking Tarek and Fallen, and it's not actually the big players. That's also the other thing about the CSPPA. You kind of intimated that, but you didn't say it as overtly. It's become exactly what we said was the number one scare of making a union. That guess what? Like every fucking workers' union in the universe, they become corrupt when the top person in the union goes, wait a minute, I sort of have the power that the corrupt boss guy had. Wonder if I'll be corrupt. And then they just do it themselves, don't they? Like they become a little tin pot dictator themselves. So this is exactly what we didn't want to play. The best union, right, is the one that sets all of its standards and provides the most help to the most people in the union. They go to the lowest common denominator and try and help that guy rise up. A union where the top guys just pick on the lower guys and in fact leverage them against the interests of the little guy, that's just as disgusting as the behavior which necessitates unions. It's the same shit. You're just the fucking worker now. You're the robber baron.
Yeah, it's so fucking like, you know, I've said this before. I wanted to start something up where it was like, you know, you have the kite mark. If, you know, if like to show that something's safe, like you put it on electrical goods so they won't blow up, or you put them in pillows so they won't suffocate your kids, or, you know, whatever. We need a standard like that in esports, where basically, like, if you've ever not paid out tournament winnings, you have that mark revoked, and people know not to go to your shit. But it's fucking insane that, again, the little guy, Windigo, are having to fight this all alone. I haven't heard a single word about it from any other pro player, nothing in solidarity. And keep in mind, some of those players, like Poison, like Ships, they've gone on to play with top players right now. Where are your boys at? So, absolutely, you know, if the CSPPA could just take 5 minutes to unhook their fucking lips from fucking ESL's bell end for 2 minutes and just fucking actually put a statement out saying we are going to recommend that no player in the CSPPA attends WESG moving forward. Try and do something to light a fucking fire under these cunts so these poor fucking bastards can get some money. And we're talking for people who, especially like guys like Victor and all that are kind of like still playing, but that's life-changing money. That's life-changing money for the economy, especially if you're not in a team that's paying a high salary right now. It's super important they get paid.
So, well, I mean, the joke is, you're obviously right, because famously that was when someone made that statement, you could buy a house, and then all those idiots were like, you can't, you're bloody racist. Like, no, you can, believe it or not. Yeah, your share of whatever, 400k, I'm going to guess that share probably would buy your house.
Yeah, it's absolute madness. So I wanted to bring that up, and again,
yeah, fair play to the owner.
Yeah, I was going to say it's good to see that for once we're not talking about the owner of a fucking small bedroom organization essentially fucking taking from his players. I mean, it sounds like he was getting 25% of the money. Make of that what you will, but honestly, there's no real other way for a fucking bedroom organization to make money. If you're going to send players to China, it's fucking expensive, so you can sort of forgive that. Another big story worth talking about. So, Jamppi, we talked about him on the last episode, talked about his potential lawsuit. Another thing the CSPPA did absolutely fuck all. That's going to become another meme on the show, I think. There's going to become a recurring...
Wait a minute, though. What, actually, that's not entirely true, because unless I might be wrong on the facts here, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't they technically get Valve to respond, but with the shittest, like, almost auto-generated email ever? Like, see, we're helping. It's like...
Jamppi brought it up with the CSPPA. That response came his way. He said, well, I'm no further forward. It's like an automated email I've got. So I want to take it further. CSPPA said, well, look, we can't really do anything now at this point. That's when he went and...
Well, what do you expect us to do? Like, pull out of the tournament or something?
Yeah.
How am I going to get my money?
I think the new meme just is, and the CSPPA did nothing. That just is how every story seems to end. So anyway, Jamppi went and got his own lawyers, and the CSPPA put a statement out going, now that Yamppi's got his own lawyers, we just bloody can't get involved. We really wanted to. That was what they said. So anyway, so we talked about Jamppi and his lawsuit with Valve and that in the last podcast. But now he's been signed to ENCE. ENCE failing finish.
Isn't this the ultimate indictment of where that team's at now, by the way? They've essentially said, Rich, no joke, you know what, fuck majors, let's just win something. Forget major. Like, listen, that must mean they've actually broken through and had a lucid moment where they came out like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, we're never even going to get to a major. Fuck it, just get the cheater guy. We'll just at least win some dream answers. That's almost the level they're on. That's how cynical these books are.
Well, so listen, right. First of all, obviously they, Astralis kind of gave everyone permission to have 6-man lineup, 6-man rosters now with their nonsensical acquisition. So that was a good thing. So Astralis pioneering there. But so the situation is this: he's going to step in for X7 for all of the tournaments except the Valve-sanctioned ones, and obviously, therefore, by extension, the Road to Rio games, the qualifiers for the major. So that's how it's going to work. X7's going to play in those games. Really weird, because obviously the online results have been a bit squiffy anyway. I think, on the day they announced that Jamppi was joining the roster, they beat Fnatic 2-0 without him even playing in it. Make of that what you will. But they also did change it now, so Sunny has become the in-game leader. Finally, the least talkative man in Finland, which is an unbelievable accolade in and of itself, because the Finns don't give a lot away. Right, Arlu has now been finally deemed not to be an in-game leading material, and Sunny has now took over as the IGL. So, but he was meant to be the big star player. He's not been playing particularly great himself. Whole team's been a fucking mess, to be fair. Pinning the blame on one person is outrageous at this point, given how far they've fallen from
let's
being.
be real.
Yeah, true. But you know, they were the number 2 team in the world in the not too distant past.
Less than a year ago.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought this move was interesting because, yeah, you're right. It points to, first of all, if it goes well and they win all of their matches with Jamppi in, maybe they do just say, fuck it, fuck majors. There's enough money out there. There's enough big tournaments out there. We'll just do it that way. But also just the sort of levels of it's kind of, you would say it's desperation because of Jamppi's situation, but equally as well, Jamppi would have been on this team if it wasn't for his VAC ban, or would be playing in the top team. Yeah, or exactly. An even better team, exactly. He's in a ridiculous position. So yeah, for me, it can only be a good thing because I think ENCE are just like, out of all of the top teams that are active right now, like by top I mean like top 30, I think like ENCE are one of the worst. Like unquestionably, I could never bet on ENCE to win a game. Like just I couldn't do it.
Oh no, the problem I have with this move basically is on the grounds of Jamppi, brilliant. I want this guy to be on a team that can actually compete at tournaments because the key thing is this is exactly the sort of circumstances that you know he'd have a chance to succeed in. Whereas Steel 24/7 is fucked. That yeah, in theory he can play in all the non-Valve tournaments. It's just nobody will fucking play with him because every person, even like the 200th best NA semi-pro, secretly thinks he could somehow fluke the meyern into a major. So they all live in a dream world. In that sense, I'll give meyern props to ENCE. Even though you absolutely made your own bed, shit in it repeatedly, and then lived in shit, and then after a year, we're like, what's that smell? Like, obviously, it is your fault. But once you're already in that
Duncan's just described my quarantine.
There you go. Once you've already basically gotten to that point, fair play for at least acknowledging you wouldn't have done anything at a major. Like ENCE was really bad for the last fucking 6 months or something. Really, really bad. So as a result, fair play for realizing at least there's a sideways move for now. You can bring Jamppi in, you can get mad firepower from him, you can do some things in the server. I do think though that the angle of like, I basically, in a weird way, I wish this happened more because I do know that Steel, if he had players that were like this level, of course he could do things. So mate, at least Jamppi
what a fucking wretched world it is that Steel is probably going to go over to Valorant. I would say. Think about all of that god tier CS knowledge just wasted. Think about how many times he's proved it. Time and time again that he can take ordinary players, sometimes not even ordinary players, sometimes players they're extraordinary in how fucking shit they are, and somehow get some fucking use out of them. He's done it repeatedly, and yet he always, because he's dealing with some sort of like just dregs with social issues, they won't even listen to him. It's like, imagine having his CV and saying, right, okay, look, yeah, ignore the SIVO thing, ignore that, and then look at all the things I've done. Will you just listen to me, please? And I'll make you a good player. And no, so and if anyone gets good, they go, yeah, it's been fun, Josh. I'm jumping ship now to go to a team that can maybe play in a major. You have zero chance of going to the major with that team. Yeah, but there's always a chance. See, like it just like fuck his life. And now all of that experience and all of that knowledge, and now he's going to go across to Valorant. I know, in my opinion, I don't have any particular insight on this. I mean, I've even said if I was him, I probably would. Because he wasn't allowed to have a fresh start in Overwatch because Activision Blizzard's petulance. He's never getting a fair break in CS. He's been fucked over by so many players in CS. It's mind-boggling to me. And he's got about 2 good years left of being a high-level pro. So I think, fuck it. Go to Valorant, make some Skrilla. But Jamppi, on the other hand, I mean, Jesus. He's only 18. He's at the start of his professional career, and the way CS is going, like, honestly, like, why? I don't get why orgs are so invested in the majors these days. Like, have you seen the viewership increases that ESL have had for online Counter-Strike? Did you see how they
Mate,
had like 1.3 million people watching in Katowice with an empty stadium?
For the final of Flashpoint, a tournament which literally, by the way, that match could have been like a semi-final at a DreamHack Open. Those two teams literally could have played. That match at one point had like 270k viewers, right?
Yep.
That would be like ESL1 Cologne numbers if people don't know. That is outrageous numbers to get. Like normally, to get higher than that, you'd need to be a major. So I agree, like the general scene itself, first of all, even though obviously the major is being allowed to be changed somewhat, because it's such gradual tweaks, the other tournaments are still way better formats than the major. ESL1 Cologne and Katowice, if you take away the word major, are more prestigious as far as I'm concerned, and a better product. So yeah, I think it's cool, basically, that one guy at least is going to sort of like, it's not, he hasn't been spared because he'll never play the majors, but he's at least going to get like maybe 80% of a career. And by the way, if I'm him, here's what should motivate you, mate. First of all, you can play tier 1 CS, you can win lots of money, you can become a top player, and your angle has to be, I'm going to be the greatest player who was never allowed to play in the majors. And at the end of my career, people will always say, oh, that guy won tournaments, he was a top 10 player in the world, and of course, stupid Valve never ever gave him any path back. I hope that that's the way, that's how you stick it to him, Jampy. That's how you fuck those guys.
Absolutely.
You make them look stupid. You make it that in the end. This is how I win. Exactly.
This is how I win.
Then all the fans, once you're a sick player, and if you ever won a tournament like ESL1 Cologne, every fan's on your side then. Except the ones who just irrationally triggered by cheaters, of course.
Yeah, but not even that though. Just think about it. Think about Simple. Everyone loves fucking Simple. Obviously, he's a person that, you know, he's even told fibs. He's even told a few fibs about what his ban was for. So, and you know, yeah, it's not a VAC ban, so Valve don't give a fuck again because it's not within their remit. But like, we don't even have any evidence that Jamppi cheated. Like, it's not even like there's a video online of him like doing anything fucking suspect or whatever. It's like literally, it all boils down to a shared account.
And as far as I can tell,
as a child,
wasn't it something mental? Like there was only one incident of a game on the account.
Yes.
Am I wrong? Well, right, there itself. All I'll do is I'll put it to the jury, which is going to be the audience in this case, because Valve's not fucking listening. I'll put it to the jury to decide which is more plausible, that a fucking like 13-year-old boy cheated once, one game, and then thought, cheating's not for me, actually. I think I'm just going to go straight for the rest of my life, even though I am 13 and have no plans to ever become a pro. And back then, I mean, the game probably just came out. Like, could you even be a pro if you were at his level? Probably not. Or is it more plausible, his actual alibi? You know what? His alibi sounded shit because initially it was just, I gave the account to a friend and he cheated. It was like, oh, that sounds like, oh, it's my little brother did it.
Yeah,
don't get my
homework.
But the difference is, that's the difference. If you're one of the cunts who says that and I go and check your account, it's been cheating for 2 years and played a million matches and a bunch of them semi-pro matches that you probably were in, that's pretty compelling evidence. If you played one game and it totally fits your alibi, I'm starting to think it's even plausible he didn't cheat. I think that legitimately seems plausible.
Yeah. Yeah, no, like, I mean...
Benefit of the doubt, you know?
Yeah, but that's the other thing as well. The idea that there is nothing in Valve's rule, right? Oh, God. I know players that have been associated with accounts that are cheating, like, who are active now, top-level pros, and it's like, I'm convinced that it's one of their old throwaway accounts. I'm convinced, having looked at the evidence, but apparently Valve are aware of it. And they've ruled it no. And then you have situations where, like, Dreamer, where he's like, I'm in a LAN cafe. Look, it happened on these dates. Check. You can see the IPs. Your account, your responsibility. We're convinced that you've cheated on it. And with Jamppi, like, I gave it to a friend. Well, did you? Didn't you? All we're going to say is, from our studies, we think the ban is legit and we're going to uphold it. It's fucking mental. It's mental that there is no grounds for a common sense bit of leeway on that. And that an 18-year-old boy has to get a fucking lawyer just to get Valve to talk to him and find out whether or not you can have a pro career. Like, it's just gone beyond draconian at this point. When you're right, maybe those rules made sense when your game first come out 20 years ago. Maybe they made sense at the height of 1.6. Maybe they made sense at the height of fucking Source. I don't know. But what I do know now, with the pro scene that you have, you're gonna have to start amending the ideas that carried you. Like, I thought Valve were going to be this like revolutionary company that think outside the box about everything. They've still got the same fucking bullshit. Fuck up once, it's a lifetime ban rule, no matter what. That is not very progressive. That's not how a sport can operate.
Oh, and by the way, I just want to throw in as well. I'm very interested. If people haven't thought this far ahead, I'm very interested in what you said earlier about the premise of like Source 2 coming out and maybe CSGO getting ported to it, right? Because remember, one of the distinctions they made was that bizarrely, you could cheat your tits off in 1.6 and get VAC banned a million times. That doesn't count somehow for CSGO. So are we now just going to say, actually, you know what, Jamppi and Steel, just stick around a year, you can play the game. Or well, I suspect, I think Valve will just keep upholding it and just break their own precedent, if I had to guess.
I'll give you an even more mental thing. In Source, when they ported to the orange box, because I know obviously you weren't a Source follower, when it ported to the orange box, you could get VAC banned in TF2, you could get VAC banned in Portal, I think it was. All of the games that came in the orange box, that if you triggered a VAC ban on any of them, you got banned from all of them. And again, Valve could go and look individually what cheat for what game triggered what ban. Nah. So you could get a VAC ban in TF2. Never cheated in the game you're competitive in, but like there used to be these things, achievement unlockers on TF2. There were so many achievements in TF2. Okay. People used to just go on these servers and you would just like, you could just download like achievement unlockers and you could just put fucking little cheats on that would just make you do.
Like a bot does or whatever you need
to do.
Yeah,
like a bot thing and stuff like that. And it used to trigger VAC bans, but people wanted to get full achievements. So a ton of people got VAC bans for achievement unlocks in TF2. What they didn't realize is a lot of people, just morons. Yeah, you're banned in everything off the orange box now. But the madness is prior to that couldn't. Prior to the port of Source being ported to the orange box, that couldn't have happened. So when we port to Source 2 and it's a different engine, a CS:GO ban's going to carry over, or does everyone get a fresh start?
I want to know. Because unfortunately, listen, I'd love it if that was a real precedent and it's like, okay, cool. Well, if CS:GO 2 comes out in a year or 2 years, then they all get another chance. Yeah, that's not a bad way with the precedent you set in the past to fix this problem. Unfortunately, if I had to guess, it's way more likely to me that that's just a thing where no one wants to go back and check 1.6 and check right and fucking get right cheated in 2004, some shit like. So as a result, I would suspect there'll be arseholes and just not only uphold the CSGO bans, but probably never reply to any fucking requests for comment. And CSPPA will just sit by going, have I ever told you how historic ESL's arse is? Like,
no, for me though, listen, I'll just go on the record here. If they do create a new engine, right, or rather, they've created the engine, but they port the game across to the new engine, and it's going to be all sparkly and new, and we're going to get all these like wonderful features with it, like everyone's fantasizing about, because they're finally ready to go head to head with Riot over the emergence of Valorant. I'll tell you this, Duncan, maybe that is as good a time as any for an amnesty. Why not?
Yeah, I agree.
So unless you are the most egregious example of cheating, and I'm only talking on a professional level here, I'm not talking about your little fucking...
Who gives a fuck about public service? Come on.
Yeah, exactly. I don't give a fuck
about...
about
everyone who cares about that. Grow the fuck up. I get why it affects you. I'd be mad if I was in the server, but not for pro play. Grow the fuck up, please, guys.
Yeah, I'm sick and tired of people saying, look at this, like these fucking losers who found a way to bypass ESEA, and they're obviously cheating. They're clearly cheating. Some little fucking German fucking incel, right? Like, is fucking cheating, and they go, look at him. They're fucking nobodies. They're nobodies. They're never gonna go pro. They're never even gonna leave the house. Like, they're not in the conversation about what we're talking about. But there was like that Emilio. There's a guy, I'd never unban that cunt. No. Got VAC banned in the middle of a fucking tournament, on air, on broadcast. He should never be able to live it down.
And I'll also add in, here's another thing I wouldn't mind adding as a context. One piece I actually did somewhat agree with the iBuyPower harshness of the ban. I don't agree with it, obviously, in premise. But the fact, here's the thing. The people who defend them often do make it sound like they just threw the game and then that's it. No. They also doubled down many times, including calling you a liar, and repeatedly said to the bitter end they never did it. Now, that I do think, just like in a court of law, that should get you a harsher sentence. You basically, treating the fucking court like it's a fucking joke. So similarly, if you're in a scenario like that, where, I've lost my train of thought there, but basically, what was the premise you were just saying before?
Well, so I was talking about that. If you do something that's really egregious, like for example, Emilio got VAC banned on.
There you go.
That's
what I was going to say.
Yeah.
The other thing is this: he denied it for years afterwards.
Yeah.
So that should also count to your crime, in my opinion. You know.
Yeah.
One thing, here's the thing: if you cheat and you actually just come out and you just say, "Yeah, okay, my account was a cheat. I want to turn my life around," that's different. Just like in a court.
Kaylee and SF still maintain, even though the cheats they used were specifically designed for LAN, they never used them in the one environment the cheats were specifically designed for. Don't buy it. I'll never buy it. I've seen the fucking evidence from that fucking ESWC in Team Mystic. I've seen the fucking demo when you have a 90% headshot ratio, almost all of them pre-fired. Like, grow the fuck up. Grow the fuck up and take your medicine. And this is one of the areas, actually, ESL were ahead of the curve on this. I always thought this was a good thing. They had a rule where if you got caught cheating and you got flagged on YeaH or by demo review, which obviously we don't do demo reviews anymore, but we used to, that was a standard back in the day. The eye test counted for something.
After seeing r/VACSOX, thank God.
Yeah,
thank
true, like
God.
true. Although that is a fucking law unto itself, mate. But anyway, the rule was that if you admitted you did it, you took like it was either a year or 2 years, and you had to write an apology.
Yeah.
Right, which is a bit pathetic, but whatever. But then you were allowed back after that period. But if you didn't admit it and you didn't take your medicine, you didn't write the apology, you couldn't enter the rehabilitation program.
And Simple even evaded his, if you remember. So he got his extended.
Yep, yeah, and got it extended. Yeah. Oh, and if you get caught evading it, then you just permed.
Perfect.
Right? So that's how they used to do it. So cheaters were forced to come out, say they did it, apologize, say they wouldn't do it again, and if you ever got caught, you got a lifetime ban. How is it that we were more fucking progressive and sensible before esports was even fully fucking developed? Certainly Counter-Strike esports was fully fucking developed, to where we're at now, where we're going to penalize one of the most promising young players in world Counter-Strike for something he may not have done at age 13. That is bonkers to me. So why not have the amnesty? And there will be exceptions, but why not have an amnesty if we do get a new engine? I'd be down for that. 100%.
It's just a really good sentiment to the community as well. What a great act of goodwill.
Yeah, but well, now we know we don't see many of those. So, right, other stories, because I know we're coming up for the 2-hour mark, and then we're going to get into regular viewer questions, Patreon questions. So what should we get into? I think we'll do this
on the docket.
Kassad left 100 Thieves today.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's a very good one. So I mean, this blew me away. Although by all accounts, because he put a twit longer out, and it's probably the first twit longer I've read that
where a reasonable one, wasn't it?
Yeah, a reasonable twit longer, not a load of bitter,
like an actual adult
whining bullshit. Yeah, exactly. Like, listen, for those who don't know, Kassad is a fucking legend. He's so unbelievably intelligent. He's a super cool dude, a very talented coach, one of the best all-round coaches probably in World Counter-Strike. Doesn't get a lot of props. He was at 100 Thieves. My initial impression, because I was streaming this morning when the news broke, was that it must have been the org, because usually when you don't want to change players or admit you've made a bad investment in players, the coach gets it. He knows it. Yeah, exactly. You know it. When the coach is there essentially to fall on his sword with certain teams. Yanko, prime example. But according to the twit longer he put out, which I'll bring up, I'll give it to you, Sam. Here, I got the twit longer for you. He just said, short explanation. I know this came as a surprise to everyone, but the truth is we've been drifting apart in more ways than one for a while now. I was personally generally unhappy with our progress and stagnation on the same level ever since the start of the last year. The difference begins in the biggest difference, in opinions, was about how to approach and more importantly how to solve the problems that we've had for a while now. But there is no bad blood between us. It's just towards the end of our visions for the future of the team and how to reach the next level didn't align. Sometimes that happens, and it's perfectly all right. It sucks in some ways, but this is the best way to move forward. I also want to thank 100 Thieves for providing everything for us in the past 6 months. Truly one of the greatest orgs. As for my future, I don't have anything set, but I'm open to discuss all offers. And let me tell you, someone's going to snap him up, and they are going to get a fucking steal, because he is the real deal. But this is an interesting point, because I think this is a big loss for 100 Thieves. And I think it's interesting that the players sort of kind of, it sounds like they've lost a bit of faith with his coaching methods and they don't believe anymore. Given how poor the team has been lately, I don't see how he could have been part of the problem, but maybe I'm missing something. What do you think?
No, I'm with you on that. Like, worst case scenario, maybe like his voice just ran out with that team and he's been there for long enough that, you know, they've been through the highs, the lows, they've had the really good times, and now people just wanted a change. It happens in sports. Doesn't mean you're a bad coach. You know, sometimes people just want a new manager, don't they? So I could find, that's not impossible, but I have to say I'm more on your side. Like, just seeing the things he did with that team in its different iterations, where they began playing real Counter-Strike, they began playing tactical Counter-Strike on a level they were never able to execute, even when old boy Chad was there as the fucking IGL for years and years. Like, he got them to a level, even before they got the Gratisfaction and YeaH, that was already like, wow, he's actually whipping this team into shape. Then when he got Gratisfaction and YeaH, they became a top 5 team in the world. They were in the fucking semi-finals of a major, a team from Australia. This is unbelievable. Like, the expectations that he should have had in that team, he blew them out of the water. Like, this is not an exaggeration. The only coach I think you could even imply can match his level for over exceeding expectations is Zonic. That's it. Even the likes of like the Mouse Sports coaching, they're within their wheelhouse. They have some good results, they have some not ones. They have a good period of bad fit. Like, this guy absolutely nailed it, every aspect. Maybe he didn't stick the landing at the end, but everything else was straight fire. So I'm with you. I guarantee this guy's going to be getting a sick next deal. Like, I think this actually might be a blessing in disguise. If he goes to an even better team with more talent, because remember, he wasn't working with like the craziest talent in 100 Thieves. He had a couple of good players and some role play. He didn't have the big monster play. He didn't have a top 10 player in the world. So I'll tell you right now, because again, I can say these things. I myself will be personally telling every single founding partner owner within Flashpoint, you should be fucking getting this guy. Like, whoever you have now, it ain't Zonic. So this is the next best guy. So look at this guy. Look what he's done. He got to be picked up by a top squad. He's just done too much.
Well, I was going to say, he's got a proven track record of where, even though he's never really worked with any of the top teams, because, I mean, he was in the 2016 Mouse Sports, bless him.
Yes.
So
Mate,
you know, big org, big name. Yeah.
Everyone remembers, right, that the Nico Sports period, it's even called Nico Sports infamously because you just remember them. Nico would drop 40 and they'd lose in the group stage. When he coached them and he could talk as the IGL, he took them a top 40 league.
I was just going to say, yeah, they were third and fourth.
That's no joke. That is it. For that is such an insane overperformance that if you're going to tell me he takes that team and gets them to overperform that much, and then goes to a lineup with 0 overlapping players and 0 great players, by the way. Even JKS, as good as he is not a great player. He wouldn't be in a Hall of Fame yet. The idea he takes that team, he takes shitters like Dennis and Spinney to top 4 E-League, and then he takes Liaz to top 4 at the fucking... Are you kidding me? You can't do this by accident. It's just impossible.
So it is the question for a little bit of theory crafting, because we all know that, like, Team Liquid... You know,
it would be my go-to move if I could do this one.
Yeah,
I would 100%. Love him to be the. Because here's the thing: not only is he someone who has a history of working with tactical players, but I also imagine if you give him star players, he'll be open to having a looser style. You can't do that with shit players. And then this is the key part to me. Like you said about him being a legend, that's because he's actually a man. This guy actually has a personality, has a voice, has his own opinions. Doesn't think, by the way, because he's the coach, like some I'm a pet level shit. Like, I'll just sit back and let these guys tell me whatever. It's like, he actually understands he's the authority figure. In fact, it's almost implied within that twit longer that, yeah, it's not that the players just gave up on him. He was kind of out on them too. Like, it was probably didn't like the way shit was going. And so, as opposed to just sitting back and take it for years, it comes to a head and you leave. What a fucking G. So I can't think of a more perfectly suited person to go and coach Team Liquid, quite frankly. I think he'd whip some of those guys into shape. I think people like Stewie 2K would fucking love playing for a guy like this. I think someone like Nitro would like taking some of the pressure off again. I can't speak for those players. That's purely speculation, but I think it would be a brilliant pickup. And again, you don't have to boot a Dren. This is another thing I want to make a point of. I'll probably make a video on it soon. In the modern day, and especially with initiatives like Flashpoint that now mean you can justifiably invest more millions. You're not just pissing them down the drain with no hope of getting it back. I want to see teams go like NFL style. I want to see like a 5-coach unit where this guy handles the demos and this guy just only anti-strats the opponent and this guy works on player performance and this guy's like, I want like a full team for these top squads. Then we'll really be cooking with gas. So Team Liquid, you're one of the teams like Astralis. You can do this now. You can start to make inroads and you can get way ahead of your competition. You've already got the players. Why not get the best coaching staff in the world as well?
Yeah, and I think Adrian offers something specifically to that group of players.
Yeah,
but I agree.
Again, you also can't fuck with his results. Let's be real. Even if you want to say they just shot everyone in the head with Eagles, he still did something. You don't.
Yeah,
he definitely wasn't telling them bad shit that they ignored and then just won the round. Let's not be silly now.
But exactly. But it's like the opportunity to get somebody who might be a little bit more cultured, have different ideas, somebody who's going to really relish working with talent, but also as well, he has a proven track record of the teams he's been at, with maybe the exception of the first go around with Renegades, but even then, maybe not. You know,
still some alright performances.
Yeah, no, but he was at that Valiance team that went on to become fucking crazy.
Essentially, that was the core of that team.
Yeah,
everything this guy, he has the fucking Midas touch. It's mental.
Yeah, for real, he might be the Carrigan of coaches.
Good analogy.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see where he ends up, and I hope it's a big team for real. Last story we'll do today, and then we'll save all the others for the next show, which will definitely won't take as long to do it next time around. I don't know when we will, but I'll keep you.
Oh, by the way, one last thing to say on the 100 Thieves story.
Oh yeah, go.
Even though I really enjoy the 100 Thieves team, it's one of those teams I always enjoyed watching play, pulling for. I even like some of the players. I think actually generally they're all pretty cool guys. I've even got to talk to some of the blast that I hadn't met from the Renegades days. Some of the newer guys, they're all chill as fuck. Like, one thing I will say is, I'm sorry, it's already not a great situation for 100 Thieves, and I think this will make them get worse. Like, I can't see how they're going to get I don't know what coach they're going to get to replace him. I might even be cynical enough to think they're just going to get some unknown NA person or someone from fucking Australia. So I personally suspect that this will actually be a continuing down for 100 Thieves. I don't think they'll ever be like number 5 team in the world again. Sorry. At least with this lineup, unless you get some superstar player or something.
Yeah, I agree with that assessment as well. So the other story, Orgless, they disbanded. And not only have they disbanded, they've done it in such a way that they have essentially forfeited their spot in Road to Rio. And they've done it after basically they lost to Cloud9, they lost to EG, so they were at 0-2 in the group that they were in, and they just said, fuck it, we're out. And so the team is gone, it's disbanded. Bit of a mixed, I've got mixed feelings about this.
Dude, they're treating a major qualifier tournament like it was fucking MDL. Like those stories from yesteryear where when people just can't win the playoffs, they just disband the team. And then they have to do that whack thing like this where you have to remove everyone's results. So now all those people who played games against you and prep for those games, like, what? That doesn't count anymore. Like that. I get the whole angle that we're going to go into it. Like, they don't have an org. Obviously, they wouldn't just finish the tournament that was paying them. But even so, it's such a whack way to do it, though, isn't it? It's like either just don't enter the tournament or see it through. If there's one thing in general I'd say to any men watching this show, if you promise to do something, see it through. Doesn't matter what the conditions are like. Again, might not be your fault, but it is your responsibility. When you give your word and when you say you're going to do something, fucking do it.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, words to live by there. Like, your word's got to be your fucking bond. And I understand that in a team it's a little bit different because you might be committing to something and some people might be more committed than others. And if one part of the jigsaw comes up, well, it's all, you have to put it in the box, right? Like, I get it, right? But this is the madness, right? So, first of all, agree with everything he said. And I think them disbanding in the Road to Rio after going 0-2 is really distasteful. I think they should have seen it out 100%. But then also completely empathize with the fact that they are orgless at the moment. They're without an org and without a salary at the worst time globally for that to be the case. No one's going to be going out on a limb to pick anyone up because there's all this financial uncertainty. So I can understand you being demotivated. But then I go back the other way. You were in Flashpoint. Flashpoint were paying you a salary to be there. You were making money off that. And you were still fucking around playing Valorant late at night. And not prep, you know, and not getting early nights and not practicing and stuff. Which, by the way, given that FNS is the player that fucking did the call out to Immortals that we all know and love, it's madness to then see what a shambolic sort of approach they've had. Now, I've got no problem with you playing other games to unwind and let off steam. You should have all been about Flashpoint because with the caliber of team that was there, you could have finished higher than fucking 56. You could have made better money. And then, like I said, to sort of take that attitude towards the major, where a major qualifier, where they were going to play some beatable teams, ridiculous. And then, of course, you go on their Twitter accounts and they're talking about going pro in Valorant. Someone told me today that FNS was saying he was going to go pro in Valorant. Now, I'm just going to fucking say, if that is true, well, I don't know, I haven't confirmed it before the show because I've been too busy. But if that is true and that's his thought process, I'm going to just tell you this, brother. You lose everything that you have that makes you a viable pickup by going over to a new game. Because you are a low-level performing but very intelligent in-game leader, right? Like in Counter-Strike. There's nothing about that that's going to transfer over except maybe communication skills. It's all specific situations to Counter-Strike. Why the fuck would you even be thinking about another game if you're him? Wardell, I get it. You know, I said this on stream earlier. I thought your burn to Wardell was sick as fuck, where he said I'm still waiting for him to go pro in one game. Needlessly harsh and completely unfair, but you know, but I don't know. I just think this organization like disbanding in the way they've done it at the time they've done it, like I just think it's fucking pathetic, honestly. And I see some of those names. I see the Wardells. I see the Subrosas. I see Infinite. I'm like, when are your motherfuckers gonna grow up and realize what you could have had?
Oh, that's the saddest thing is that those three players, they have listen, FNS will always have a career in CSGO. He'll probably be around the level he's at now. I don't know he can go much higher. He's had a few chances. It hasn't always worked out. But the three players you mentioned, listen, I don't know if all three will make it, but I guarantee at least one will. The talent is just there. Like Wardell, we already know is a banger. Subrosa, actually fairly impressive, I thought, at Flashpoint. And Infinite came out of nowhere for me. I only knew little bits about this guy. And I actually thought by the end of the tournament, he looked in really good shape. Like, he actually looked like a revelation of the tournament. So bear in mind, this is a team that was only a few rounds away from cracking, I think, top 4. I actually think some of these guys are basically trading in way more potential in CSGO for more limited but immediate potential in Valorant, which as we don't even know that will be a big game yet. So yeah, I don't really see what you're trading it for.
All these people don't understand. Like 6, another one, but we'll talk about that next time. All these motherfuckers that think Valorant's gonna be like, oh, we're gonna go make it in that game. We're gonna be amazing in that game. Guys, the problem is you. It's not that you need to go to another game to make it. It's that you need to fundamentally fix yourselves to make it in this game, the game you're good at. But you can't because you don't have the right mentality. Your mentality is dog shit. And it's not going to change in Valorant. Might feel good for the first 2 weeks when you're fucking noob stomping and you're wrecking people, right? Might feel good then. But let me tell you, what do you think's going to happen when the skill ceiling rises? We've all been there at the start of fucking esports, man. Scooch used to be a fucking pro player, for fuck's sake. Ordy's a world champion in fucking game. You know what happens once the fucking kids start coming up and the skill ceiling is? I've been a competitive TF2 player, for fuck's sake. You know what I mean? Like, well, it doesn't mean shit at the start of a game. It's what happens a year into its development. And I'll tell you, it doesn't matter what talent you got. If you don't have the right mindset, you're not going to do anything in any fucking game, let alone your second game, your side chick. You know, it's ridiculous.
Also, here's the thing, right? I totally understand, like you were saying there. I can sympathize now when the name Orgless really does fit. The problem is this. What happened at the end of Flashpoint? Now, those are players, Subrosa, fucking Infinite. They're never going to, at least they haven't, done anything meaningful at majors, right? They're not a team that was going to win a major. So that essentially for them is their major. The prize money is the same. It's got a massive scope to it, even if it doesn't have the biggest teams. And they were in position, like I said. All they had to do was beat Cloud9, a beatable team, by the way, and they would have been top 4. Even when they played MIBR in the upper bracket, it was close games at times. Could have been top 4 that way. And while they were still during the tournament, which remember, for Flashpoint, the org they didn't have an org, so they were literally paid $5K a month each by Flashpoint to play. Not a bad salary, especially for having no org. So then the idea that you would not only be getting ready to exit the game in the biggest tournament of your fucking life, but even worse, this is why I kind of agree, they've got a bad attitude. Wardell made a tweet, right before they played the last match of the Flashpoint tournament, right, where a lot of fans didn't get this. They actually thought he was serious. He essentially was sarcastically said that he'd been practicing loads for the match and that he was like ready for the game or whatever. What he was doing, by the way, was making fun of the fact that he'd just been up all night playing Valorant. Right before the biggest match of his life. That attitude sucks. That shows that you're one of these people. A winner, when he gets any opportunity, goes for broke. A loser can get a million opportunities and never make anything of it. And at the end, just go, I never even got a break, did I? It's like you got every break, motherfucker. If you won't take that opportunity, Good, you don't deserve to be a pro then. Fuck off and shoot people with fucking aimbots or whatever in this dog shit game that's like the new Apex Legends.
It is crazy, mate. And again, think about Flashpoint and the gesture to have them there, right? And I know you was scrambling for teams and stuff, but you don't have to pay them. You pay them a fucking salary. You pay them a fucking salary. Point of that, with where they made it in the tournament when I knew they were top 6. I thought, what a brilliant storyline this is. A team without an org made top 6. This is great. Not as cool as an underdog story when you know they don't give a fuck. Yeah. Really, really sucks. Right, we can jump in now. Viewer questions. If you're a $50 patron or above, what you get to do is you get to... I'm going to turn the light on for this, actually. I just realized I've been sat in the dark. Well, that's a bit fucking bright, actually. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Just look like a fucking craggy old man now. Like, wait, I am. No problem. No lighting's going to fix that, is it? Just turn the light off, Just like, better in the dark, look better, look younger. Right, anyway, if you're a $50 patron or more, you get to ask a question. It can be about anything, and we answer them at the end of the podcast. So food for thought if you've got some spare money once we get out of the fucking pandemic nightmare. And obviously, much love to all of our patrons. Buttpounder420, not really a question. Started a new job at a turkey processing plant. Just wanted everyone to know that holy fucking shit, turkeys have 12-inch penises. Apparently, they do have like. Have you ever seen a duck?
I've seen the
penis?
Duck one. Similar to that, isn't it? Like a corkscrew or some shit.
Yeah, but what happens is like they've got all special musculature which fucking keeps it all held up in their undercarriage. But like when it's time to fuck, they can just like drop it. But it's mental, like it just
drop the landing
like a fucking,
gear.
Yeah, just like a fucking tapeworm or something. It is. It's fucking so he is right. Like he is right. Another interesting fact that you learn on farms. I don't even know if I want to say it now. The average ejaculate of a pig is a pint.
That's real.
Why would you be putting it in that class? That's all I'm asking. You know, mate, it's one thing if you eyeball it, that's
pouring it at an angle.
Glass for down
pouring it at an angle. Get a fucking head on it. No, it's true, mate.
By the head, you mean all that sort of like white shit that just the smegma. So I had to pretend I didn't know what it was. Listen, I followed Red Dwarf. I know what I'm talking about. That would obviously be the form.
I followed Red Dwarf.
I come from the school of Red Dwarf.
Yeah.
I learned a lot.
It's good.
Mostly didn't apply, but whatever.
Congrats on the new job. And I'm glad that was the fact you came out with, not like what you're gonna see, because factory farming is just brutal. Like when I worked on a poultry farm, killing the chickens, the shit I saw was just like, probably not gonna eat chicken for a little bit. So I'm glad you went with that. ReykjavikOnSteam, meyern in the Flashpoint Season 1 final against MadLions never got more than 21 frags. Is it safe to say he is assimilated to Brazilian culture and is now adverse to the number 23?
Right, even though that's a joke, and by the way, well executed joke, I will say we're living in such a fucked world. Part of me's now wondering if I should go back and look through old games and see if
the ones where he was hovering on 23.
No, not even just him. Maybe Brazilians in general do it. Like, what happens if they're on 24 kills? Do they suicide? Do they get extra kill? Do they go super hard for it? Like, if I find out that they actually don't let themselves end the game on 24. I might not be able to take it anymore. That might just be it. I might just break me completely.
Jyse asks, what is the most bizarre fan product you've seen in esports or maybe even regular sports? In esports, I've seen some fucking crazy shit. I know that Dignitas had like, and Audi always told me it was one of his biggest sellers, but they had these like women's thongs.
No, because why would you want that logo on your thong? It's so shit.
They used to be like the old alien head, didn't it? So
that'd be the old fucking anti-aphrodisiac of all time. You go, I can't believe I'm getting lucky now. You pull down the just that shit logo, just looking up at you.
These are Duncan's opinions, Audi.
He can handle it. He can handle it. Come on.
Whatever, fuck it. He's a world champion in Battlefield. He's had the last laugh over on us. I'm trying to think of any weird ones from like regular sports. I mean, there's always something fucked up, like, you know, people like putting out their own brand of fucking lube. And the other thing that I fucking hate as well is like, since meme culture come in, you now get all these deliberately like shit and stupid products because they all want it to go viral and stuff like that. You see that quite a bit in esports as well, like the mimetic culture, the mimetic qualities.
I'll
that
give you
people try
one
and go
because
for.
I just remembered one. I think
Yeah,
it was last year or 2 years ago where that company just started selling that like gaming dress or whatever, and it was just literally just like a dress, but it was like, "Are you in the games?" Like, and they were just trying to sell it to women, basically.
Yeah.
Like the whole angle was ridiculous because the idea you'd need a special dress for gaming is like, come on.
Mate, wasn't there? Someone in the chat said this, and I've just remembered it. Yeah, they're right. There was a fucking energy drink, and it was called Pussy. It was just called Pussy.
Oh, there we go. That sounds like some sort of fucking initiative Dorsey would be involved with or something. Like he'd be the front man or something like, I want drink. I want pussy in mouth. And then like, oh, it was all a joke after all. He just wanted a drink. Now coochie too.
Like, I just don't even understand how that fucking, like, how are there a bunch of people sitting around? Right, I've got the story in front of me. I just quickly Googled it there. So it was made by a guy called Johnny Shearer.
That sounds like a fucking name right there.
I'm not making the obvious joke
Johnny
about shearing
Shearer.
and pussies. Yeah, and on you. Johnny Shearer, right? And it says here, Johnny came up with the idea of a natural energy drink after leaving university in 2004. Inspired by the Virgin brand name, Shearer decided to name his drink Pussy. That's what it says. Like, that's just fucking garbage, isn't it? That's just garbage. And it got banned by the UK advertising standards for being sexually explicit. Almost as if you can't really call it, pussy. So that's probably one of the worst. Can't think of anything worse than that. Esports is full of stuff. You see all those shit adverts in esports as well. Like what was that LAN where they just had like naked women walking around?
It's like a Russian one or something, yeah.
Yeah, like some CIS LAN where they just had like topless women walking. I was like, this was like last year or 2 years ago or something. It's like, what the fuck are you doing, you mad cunts? Anyway, I hope that answers your question. AliceTheAlchemist. Hey, Rich and Thorin. What felt better? First time you had sex or witnessing MIBR choking as they did in Flashpoint for the sweet Corral Schadenfreude? Well, first time you have sex is usually garbage anyway. So, and that's all out. That's all out. Right, Jerckysminion, if you had to describe yourself as a WCW, WWF, or WWE wrestler, which one would you be and why?
If you had to describe yourself, the problem is it's not just who you want to be, it's how you.
You've got to think about one that's the name as well. So that's tough, innit? That is an hard one. Fucking hell, Jerky, always coming up with the toughies. I mean, I did always have a fucking soft spot for fucking Papa Shango. Like, I fucking loved him. Setting motherfuckers' feet on fire and stuff.
He was one of those people where, listen, I'm aware it's all fake and contrived, but it's one thing if you just don't fully jump off a cage. You can't just actually do fucking magic and have it be real. Like that just pushes that breaks that like.
No, but let me tell you, I can't remember whether it was Papa Shango or whether it was Kamala when he fought the Boogeyman. Oh, God, it's all blurred into one because the gimmick with Kamala and Papa Shango was, sort of similar. Papa Shango was a Haitian voodoo priest. Kamala was like the African guy, shaman that did the black man. But anyway, there was this one episode of wrestling where one of them set the opponent's feet on fire, and a warning flashed up saying, "This is not real. Magic isn't real." Like they had to tell the American audience, like, "Oh, don't worry. Black magic has not been practiced to set this cunt's fucking feet on fire, just in case there was like some religious group watching." But I don't know. I always fucking loved. I always loved Papa Shango, but I couldn't tell you why I would want to be him, other than voodoo's a wicked power to cultivate, I guess. So I'll go with.
I guess I will pick this. I'd be one of the Hardy Boys, always going for it, high flying act, young, full of spunk, not like that. And, I'm willing to put myself on the line and my career on the line just for you fucking plebs entertainment.
Mate, I've just realised as well, I'd probably be New Jack. You seen that documentary Vice just put out of a New Jack, right?
No.
Oh, mate. He's in this like match with someone that he had beef with because you like gave him a few potatoes before. And it was like a big, like, you know, extreme, because New Jack's garbage. So he had to do all the extreme wrestling. So he went in and he snuck a taser with him into the ring. Tased the fucking guy. And while the guy was like fucking seizing up, that's when he launched him off the fucking, like, basically like the length of Hell in a Cell, like how far mankind fell. He just clipped a table that he was meant to land on, nearly missed it, just landed straight, like, fucked up outside the ring. Should have died. Even the guy, they interviewed the guy and he's going, yeah, he probably should have been arrested for attempted murder. Like, New Jack's mental. Just look at some of it. Like, he battered some 70-year-old man in the ring as well. The gimmick was like he was the mentor to New Jack, and New Jack was meant to come in and like rough him up a little bit for a heel turn, but he literally battered an old man. He just kept beating him. Unbelievable. So yeah, I'd like to be him. New Jack's a great guy. Big fan.
Did you actually unintentionally put yourself in a wrestling scenario, much like Hell in the Cell, when you threw 15-year-old order off?
Dream Act 2015.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. I couldn't tell if you were trying to meme into that off. That was just unintentional coincidence.
I was waiting for people to put the connection together, but you know,
they're not the sharpest, not around here, mate. If we say it 10 times, maybe they'll pick it up. No.
Yeah.
Pay for the picture and all that, though.
Jdubs, yeah, cheers for me. Jdubs, pick 3 to 5 of your favorite CS:GO talent. We're not doing that many. We're going to do one.
When he says talent, does he mean players or like I assume he means like casters?
He means on air. He means broadcast talent. And he says, what drug matches their personality best and why?
Ooh, we could go with some good ones for this one. So, like, an easy one to me would be, I would say it's fairly obvious. Anders Bloom would be fucking like psilocybin mushrooms, because
for sure.
It's like he's not like the most full-on hardcore trip, and he is a bit of a mellow sort of chill guy. But there's also just like a weirdness to him that just it always comes at a weird angle, which is kind of reminiscent of mushrooms in that sense. I also would imagine. Well, I won't say anything about that. You can figure out where I might have gone with that one, people. You know, I'll leave that up to your imagination. Who else though? Who else would you pick? It's got to be another. It has to be a big name though. Frankie, maybe caffeine pills.
She does have a lot of energy.
No, that's the whole thing, isn't it? Like, what people don't realize, by the way, one area that she does get actually undue flack is, have you seen how lacking in life some of the lower level pros in CS:GO are?
Mate,
they are like
I can't believe some of the interviews.
She's trying to carry that motherfucker by actually putting some energy into it.
Yeah, like some of the interviews she's had to do where it's like she's being like, you know, bubbly, vibrant, like trying to get stuff up and just give him nothing. Always reminds me of, it was that mad cunt who got interviewed in that fucking like reality CS show they did, and he went and she asked him like, well, who are you afraid of? And he went, no one, bitch.
Oh, I don't think it was her. Was it who did the interview?
No, it wasn't Frank.
No, I know you mean. It was that Swedish reality show. Yeah, it was the same guy who then dropped the end.
Man, who the fuck was that degenerate? Like, where's he now? Like,
it's when he just goes, nothing, bitch. And you're like,
are you aware you're talking to a woman now?
On camera as well, no less.
Yeah, I know. Like, fucking hell. So people, a lot of people are going, haha, Henry G would be cocaine. Definitely not, because if you know him, he's actually quite a downer type person.
He's more heroin, if anything, I'm afraid.
Yeah, definitely. He's more like, you know, he's very like, you know, passive and stuff. He likes to listen to Morrissey. And
not really a cocaine drug, is it?
Yeah,
tell you what, get some of that fucking Morrissey on. I can't. It's not really the scene, is it, for that?
Yeah, no, not at all.
No one, bitch.
I'm just trying to think of some more obscure drugs as well, like just weird ones that just have like weird side effects. Like D-Man would be ibogaine or something, you know. But I can't. What would DDK be?
He'd probably have to be some sort of amphetamine, because he's
MDMA. I was going to say
he's just obsessed with the most like obscure shit to such incredible detail that no one can follow him down.
But also like very, very friendly. Like, you know, never gets aggro, never gets so yeah. DDK would be MDMA probably. But there you go. We've given you enough. Duncan's got things to do. He's got back home now, so he's got women to visit, money to spend. He says, fuck the quarantine. Put that on the side of the podcast. Fuck quarantine. I'm all about the economy.
I can still do my videos, mate.
Timestamp all.
It's true, isn't it? It's true.
Whole segment. So anyway, one final shout out, of course. Thanks to everybody for watching the show today. Shout out, of course, .com or with 9es.com. You can go and check them out. Remember that right now, if you do want to play some bets on some esports games, and let's be honest, we're all cooped up all watching the fucking esports games anyway. If you want to make it a bit spicy for yourself and you're over 18 and you feel like you can bet responsibly and you're good with your money, you can sign up via .com/RLS, and if you deposit $100, they'll match $100. So it's a good offer going on right now. So go check it out and support the show. And obviously, shout out to our patrons who have brought the podcast back from the dead. And remember, you get to ask ridiculous questions like the ones we've just gone through if you give $50 or more. So our $100 patrons: Jerckysminion, AliceTheAlchemist, Madams, and ReykjavikOnSteam. Our $50 patrons: Benekagi Assassin, Buttpounder420, Carve, Colin Penny, Kathal, Flacksmith, Jdubs, Jyse, Lipscomb Davis, Madsen, Marcus Kyunpar, Mike Feedme, Miss Alcoholic, Nikolai Lundgreen, Sard Sawar, Sunmade Raisins, TC Owens, Tobias Bernasconi, and Watchdog. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back soon with another episode, and until then, take care of yourselves.